Hello again, everyone. Welcome in. Hello, Miss Behaven and Rhonda West and Panda Bear's mom. Hope you're doing well and better. Jen in Georgia, Michelle Scott, everyone in the house today. We are going, hi, Kaz Smith. We had a wonderful members live today. We are meeting again today for our Everyone's Live. We're going to be discussing 4 missing individuals, and we're going to give some people some time to come in a little earlier than normal. Hello, Charlene McPike. Hello, everyone. We have, interestingly enough, hi, Robin. We are going to be discussing Michael Vaughn from Fruitland, Idaho. Dear sweet little boy who went missing July 27th, 2021, right out of his neighborhood. And as of the other day, someone is in jail and being charged, held accountable for what occurred to Michael. There are several suspects. I am going to catch you up on Michael's case and then bring you up to today, what is going on. My source out there informed me of where they were searching. We talked a little bit about it. They were searching recently in a cemetery, which was a natural burial site. Those of you following Sebastian Rogers, we've talked about those because that was at 17.17 miles away from Sebastian's home, a natural burial site. But they indeed were searching one for the remains of Michael Monkey Vaughn. However, they did, as far as we know, not find them. And Brandon is in jail, and I'm going to catch you up. He is one of 4 suspects, people of interest, and I will get you caught up on Michael Vaughn. He deserves justice. His family deserves justice. Heartbreaking when they were digging in a yard for Michael Vaughn because Brandon and Adrian and were staying with Stacy and Sarah Wander, all suspects, all 4 of them. Sadly enough, it was just a few-minute walk from Michael's home, so his family could hear the machines. Now imagine that. Michael is the case right now that we know of that is someone who is a stranger who took him. That is all we know of, right? That is all we know is 4 strangers. A little boy playing in the neighborhood, and trigger warning when you hear what is believed to have been done. Then we have Jonathan Hoang, most recent disappearance that we have from Arlington, Washington. By the way, Fruitland, where Michael is from, is also a small town. It's very important you remember that because we are going to hit on small towns today and what can be done. Jonathan Hoang, also from a smaller town in Arlington, Washington. Autistic, missing, high functioning. Left the last time Jonathan was seen was on March 30th, Sunday night, as he was heading to bed in his bedroom. His mother believes he was wearing khaki pants at the time, a green shirt, and carrying his iPad to his room, but she wasn't sure. In the morning when mom went to check on him, and that was about 7:30 p.m. after coming back from a walk. He loved to walk, asked permission, came back. In the morning when mom went to check on him, quote, he wasn't there. They believe Jonathan left without shoes, no cell phone, no jacket. He did take his iPad, which concerned the family because that's what he traveled with for distances and road trips. But they said it didn't have cellular data and was no longer had juice in it at this point by the time. So they have had a little issue with law enforcement getting up off their patootie and helping. So they took the initiative immediately. And within, I think it was 12 days, they had filed a complaint against local law enforcement per the FBI's suggestion to the Washington state attorney, who jumped right on it, had an attorney assigned to it right away. And law enforcement said that they went and met with the family to clear up the confusion. And the family had called because they said they were no longer going to be searching, that there was nothing they could do. Jonathan was 21. Well, Jonathan is autistic and missing. So yes, they believe he was taken. They believe he may have gotten in a car with a stranger. Someone lured him, someone took him, because this is something he would not do. Very similar to Sebastian. The family is out there fighting So now the Attorney General is aware, and law enforcement says they're cooperating, but I do have some updates from the family on Facebook that says they have yet to have some meetings with law enforcement. But law enforcement who refused to look at the PI's footage and stuff, after that, put out a message that we will be looking at their footage. We are going to meeting with the family, and we are not done investigating. Sometimes a kick in the pants, unfortunately, is what they need and have to have. And that's sad. Okay. But we are talking about also Summer Wells, Tennessee, just like Sebastian, June 15th, 2021. Michael was July 27th, 2021. Very close with each other, both 5 years old, getting ready to enter kindergarten. However, with Summer Wells, her small town in Tennessee, they have not said anything. We've heard no updates. It's been ages. It's been a long time, TBI, since her 1 year anniversary. We heard from TBI. I think Hawkins County put something out, a little statement around her birthday in February, saying they were still looking. Very, very little publicity, very little media, very little updates from TBI for Summer. Nothing from the lead detective since 2022, I believe. We're going to look at that, John Puit and the sheriff. But what has come up, there's been a couple of things that have come out lately. So we're going to get into it. And another thing I want to tell you is At Night is now highlighting, as you can see from the thumbnail, Summer Wells with Sebastian in some of the advertisements. So we're going to go over it all. We've got updates for Sebastian as well. Lots to talk about today. Please hit that thumbs up as you come in. It is going to be, let's get this word out for all four children. All four of these children who we don't know where they are yet. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome in and welcome back. This is Primetime Buzz. I appreciate each and every one of you, and that on this holiday weekend you would choose to come in and spend some time and listen about the children that we need to bring home. I'm going to begin with Michael Vaughn. Actually, no, I'm going to end with Michael Vaughn, excuse me. I'm going to begin with Jonathan Hoang out of Arlington, Washington. He is in the bottom right of the thumbnail. Jonathan, as I said, 21 years old, Sunday, March 30th, loves to take walks. Well, he has to go on a walk. He's seen on camera on his walk through the streets. He walks on the streets, through the streets, takes his walks. He came back around 7:30. That's on camera, verifying that as well. Into his home, went into bed. Mom believes he had on black slip-on shoes, khaki pants, and a green shirt. Now, mind you, that's March 30th, Sunday night, 7:30 p.m. Believes he had his iPad. That's what he was wearing. Well, in the morning, he is not there when she goes to check on Jonathan. They believed at the time he had no shoes on. Corrected later that he might have black slip-ons on. They believed he to be in the khaki pants and the green shirt that they saw him going into the bedroom in. However, a good week or more later, they found those clothes in the sister's clean laundry basket. Now, I find that a mystery, because how did Jonathan change, toss them in there? They reported the clothing and someone washed them without noticing the clothing was there. The clothing that was the very description. So that's interesting. But they ended up being in the sister's clean laundry. How they got washed, maybe someone washed them in the evening, I don't know, in the morning, but they were not noticed for a week. So they do not know what Jonathan left in. They are concerned, greatly concerned, because Jonathan is not an eloper, he's not a wanderer. This is not normal behavior for Jonathan. And Jonathan doesn't wander, so they are concerned that maybe he was lured, someone convinced him to leave, or he got into a stranger's car. They think he may have left through the back door and someone convinced him to lock the door and take his iPad. There was a very thorough search, very, very thorough search for Jonathan. And about 6 days in, law enforcement pulled back on their search, and that's when they told the family there's not much more they could do. They weren't going to be searching anymore. Jonathan's 21 years old, and that is not illegal when you're 21 years old to leave. The family was not going to tolerate that, and I want to pause for 1 second. Although Jonathan has almost identical details to his circumstance of what he took, what he didn't take, when he was last seen, where he was when he was last seen, that they're both autistic, they're both verbal, carry on conversations. Okay. The difference is in the individuals who were in the home with him, the last to see him, will not allow law enforcement to let this go. And within days, they were talking to the FBI and filed a complaint against law enforcement for the way the investigation was going. So then law enforcement, like I said, responded because the Attorney General of Washington assigned an attorney to it right away. And then we got a statement from Shinoha County, I believe it is, in Arlington, Washington, saying that they will indeed continue searching. Now that came out, because they were also complaining they wouldn't even look at their PI's footage. They had to raise money to get a PI to search for him, Jonathan, because law enforcement said they were done. Law enforcement would not look at that footage, but once the Attorney General was contacted, they began looking through the footage. They went and had a meeting, said they got on the same page and were going to do regular meetings. There have been a couple of sightings. Obviously, they have not panned out. Jonathan's family, a few days ago, almost a week, said that they thought they may know where he is at the end of one of the articles we read. But we have not heard anything other than that. And I do want to read to you their updates from the family on the Facebook page for Jonathan. Hoang is his name. Jonathan Hoang. The family is advocating. The community was out there with signs. They were not going to let the sheriff's office turn their head. And here is 1 day ago. And if you are interested in joining their Facebook site, it is Help Us Find Jonathan Hoang - Endangered and Missing Person is in Arlington, Washington. Now, his sister, Irene, has been very active, verbal, in getting the word out and the correct information. My brother, Jonathan Hoang, has now been missing for 19 days. This is yesterday's post on the Facebook group. He was last seen on his way to bed at 7:30 p.m. on March 30th in Arlington, Washington. As a 20-year-old with autism, he is a missing and endangered person in Washington state. To help, please share this post widely. Excuse me, I feel like I'm coming down with a little cold. Forgive me. As of today, Friday, April 18th, which was yesterday, today is the 19th, Saturday, we have no updates from the Snohomish County Sheriff's Office regarding Jonathan's case. Remember, they came out after the hand slap that they were going to get on it. We have no updates from them regarding Jonathan's case. We are hopeful that they are thoroughly investigating the leads that our PI has provided and are unable to update us at this time. We were told on Sunday evening, last Sunday, that regular weekly updates would be scheduled. On Monday, our family requested a meeting with Snohomish County Sheriff's Office. We are still waiting on a response. How the public can help. So they'll undoubtedly contact the Attorney General's office again and say, yes, they put out an initial statement. They met with us once. However, they are not meeting with us. And so that, I'm sure, now that communication is open, That sheriff's office, in my opinion, is quite brave to ignore what they said they do, because it is in the Washington State Attorney General's office. If more families did that, I think we'd have more law officers doing a little bit more and doing more than they are, doing more that they could be and more that they should be. And I hate to say that because we have so many who are amazing, and we're going to end with Michael Vaughn because of the amazing investigative work. And I want to show you Summer Wells from a small town, Sebastian from a small town, Jonathan Hoang, law enforcement really letting these kids down in some ways, but yet they're from small towns. So there's not an excuse. Okay? There's not an excuse, because when you see what J.D. Huff from small town Fruitland does and how he handles it, you will see it doesn't matter. They're trained. They take an oath to protect and serve. And if you have people who are loose cannons in your community who are making threats, you address it. You protect and you serve your constituents who vote you in. For instance, J.D. Huff, with what he's done, yes, we're 4 years down the road, but he has never stopped. And someone is in jail. There had been arrests before. He put it on the DA's desk twice. First, didn't hear from him. A year later, again. That is because someone took one of their own. And it was not tolerated in Fruitland, Idaho. So let's go ahead and continue. Here is how we can help Jonathan Hoang and his family. How the public can help. If you work in tech, law, government, legal, or media, you may be in a position to help move this case forward. We are specifically trying to, 1, gain cooperation from Apple to review critical digital evidence. They have cited exigency as expired, which means the sheriff's office is cut off from further alerts if Jonathan's missing iPad is powered on or pings a location. Also, help push for multi-agency collaboration that has so far been blocked or delayed. Please elevate this as a matter of public safety and urgency. Now, this family, if there were a $500,000 reward and Dog the Bounty Hunter and At Night in One World, just like Seth Rogers, they would be welcoming this. They want any help they can get. They're asking the public because right now they aren't getting it from law enforcement. So if you have tech skills, law, government, legal, or media, please help them. I don't know how you can gain cooperation from Apple to review critical digital evidence. They cited exigency. And I'm an English teacher, I should know that. Exigency has expired, meaning the sheriff's office is cut off from the data, the alerts, if Jonathan's iPad is powered on or pings. They want multi-agency collaboration, which has been blocked and delayed. And they want this Jonathan's disappearance elevated. They don't want bulletin boards taken down. Billboards taken down. They don't want flipboards down. They want this elevated as a matter of public safety and urgency. This is why we need to look at sometimes how people normally behave. Not that it's normal in any situation, but what reactions help show that you're serious, you're desperate, you're not stopping, you won't tolerate it. It better be done because this is my child, right? At this point, the most needed help is in personal connections for the above items. And that is Apple, legal security, law enforcement response, law enforcement or investigative media, state or federal agencies able to authorize interagency support. At this point, that is the most needed help is in those personal connections for the above items. Please continue to circulate Jonathan's poster in online and physical spaces. If you have a tip or information about Jonathan, please call 911. Our family's PI is working long and hard hours to find leads and information that could help law enforcement in locating Jonathan. All information is accessible to law enforcement in real time when possible or uploaded to a shared Dropbox at the end of each day. If able and willing to support, our GoFundMe is linked below. Any amount is greatly appreciated. And they have put, they're really, really on this, y'all. 2 days ago, we are still waiting on regularly weekly updates that the SCSO offered and a response to our request for a meeting involving all contacts and agencies who are willing and able to help find Jonathan to establish interagency communication and collaboration. We are hopeful SCSO may be busy on their end, already collaborating with these parties, and have been too busy to update us. Very clever the way they're putting this. Thank you all for your continued support, leave, and care. Support, love, and care. The community's not having it. Obviously, a small town, they were out there 5 days ago rallying because they did not feel the sheriff's office had done enough. Major Crimes needs to investigate during a call to action Saturday, April 12th in Arlington, Washington. Irene, which is Jonathan's sister, was holding a sign reading Justice for Jonathan next to another protester with a sign that said Major Crimes needs to investigate. Arlington community, Arlington, Washington, rallies and a family waits for news on their missing man. So they had out blue balloons. They had handmade signs saying, Justice for Jonathan, step up Major Crimes, investigate, please, like it's your family. There were 40 people gathered on the corners of Smoky Point Boulevard and 172nd Street Northeast in Arlington to raise awareness for Jonathan Hoang. No one is giving up. Now I want to ask you, Rogersville, Tennessee, where are you? Where are you? Why aren't you on those corners for summer? Why aren't you on there expressing your disgust for the lack of communication and action, allegedly? Get on those corners, use your voice, your summer's voice. Her parents may not be speaking out. Allegedly, we see them periodically. And now we find out there's a 2-hour, well, we didn't find out, we did know that. But Candace Wells, the mother, her friend came out and said that there was a 2-hour delay because she was called about 4:30, 2 hours before, and was told Summer was missing. But if you recall, if you covered this case, if you rewind back, Ronnie Lawson had one of his employees talk to some of us YouTubers and say, ask YouTube to ask Candace why she waited hours to call. Foul play, something fishy. It has always been odd, and we are going to deep dive into that as well. Nothing being said. Nothing being reported. Jonathan Hoang's family won't tolerate it. Sebastian's father won't tolerate it. He went and got Dog the Bounty Hunter at night, Tony Mathis, and between all of them, the law enforcement started opening their lines of communication with the father. A blessing for him. That's something that's very important to him. Regardless how anyone feels. CB, I thought that was weird too. A 21-year-old goes to bed at 7:30 p.m. I thought that very odd, but maybe he comes home from his walk, plays on his iPad, and then falls asleep. I do not know. What I thought was a little odder was the clothing they saw him in ending up in the wash either that night or after that night, but they reported those very clothes as what he was wearing. Wouldn't that have been a sign, an alert, a red flag if you see it in the laundry? It took about a week for them to find those clothes, but who washed them? But they're not tolerating it. Seth doesn't tolerate it. Michael Vaughn's mom has not quit. And there's one Summer has no voice, no one screaming at the top of their lungs for her and the family. And if it weren't for Seth right now, nor would Sebastian, in my opinion. So let's keep going, because it's not about small towns. It's about who you are, what your oath means to you, and what your community and your constituents mean to you when you promise to serve and protect them. Does that mean you're quiet and never say a word? Does that mean you say we're not going to investigate anymore, like in Jonathan Hoang's case? Does that say, like in Hawkins County, lead detective John Puit hasn't spoken in, I think it was 2 years, and that was the first time we heard from him? It's a disgrace, in my opinion. And I'm really glad at night is including Summer. And you're going to meet Summer's parents. We're going to go over the TBI interviews as well. So Jonathan Hoang's family, let's help them out. Anyone with any legal, tech, law, please reach out if you're willing to assist in any way. Any connections? I'm not sure what they need for Apple to contact Apple, but they are, like I said, their website or their page on Facebook is, sorry. Let me go back. It is Help Us Find Jonathan Hoang, Hoang. Then there's a dash. Endangered and Missing Person is in Arlington, Washington. Jonathan's labeled as endangered and missing because he does have high-functioning autism. Very similar story to Sebastian Rogers. Barefoot, no shoes, no jacket. Unusual, wouldn't normally leave at the night, wouldn't leave without permission. Didn't take the phone. Very strange. Couple of sightings that have not turned out to be him. However, the family saying they may know where he is. That was last Saturday in an article at the end, but we haven't heard anything. So Jonathan still needs to be located. Arlington, Washington, Jonathan Hoang, autistic, missing. Please share his story, share his face, give this video a thumbs up. Thank you so much. And we are going to move on. So that is a small town, dragging their feet a tad bit. Family's not putting up for it. It is already within 12 days was at the Washington State Attorney General's office. And sad you have to do it, but they did it. Sebastian's father as well had to gather his own team. They're relentless. They won't stop. They will forge forward. But once that team was in place, law enforcement began speaking to the father, which is what he needs. And he's happy about that. Okay. Yes, NeuroV, he took his iPad, and the family said when he took that iPad, that was what he took for distances, road trips and things. So they are concerned. Someone said, lock the back door and grab your iPad. I'm not sure why they would think that he went out the back door. I don't have those details. Okay, I do not, but let's keep our eyes and ears open. I want to give Jonathan, this is about the third or fourth time we have covered Jonathan's case, and I want to keep covering Jonathan's case. It is uncanny how similar the departure is. Yes. I can't say it's similar from the last people who saw Jonathan, because the behavior is completely different between Sebastian's mom, who saw him last, and Jonathan's family members who were home. But yes, the departure details are very similar. Very similar. Yes, I will write that down, Crochet. Let me just, so I don't lose my train of thought, but I will end with that if that's okay. I'll look it up for us and end, so I give a thorough answer. I don't want to off the cuff give you an answer and I might not be correct. Hello, Karen Killer, and it's so good to see you. Poppy Love, Prayer Warrior, NeuroV, Yaya, missing in Tennessee. Tennessee, I'm telling y'all. Hi, Betty H. Bogart, I'm telling y'all. Tennessee, Miriam M., good to see you. If you are a creep and want your child to disappear or want to take a child, sadly, Tennessee seems to be the state people are saying to go to. And isn't that sad? So let's keep going. because At Night's not going to tolerate it. They put another one up there now. And another, in my opinion, well, small town. Let's just be as positive as we can and keep the faith for everyone. Okay? I know Michael has been deemed deceased, and we are looking for human remains, and we need that closure too. His mother is very ill, very, very ill, and closure is important. So, Jonathan Hoang, thank you all for your, and I want to say something. A lot of times that when I cover a case that isn't Sebastian, we don't get as much interest. And I want to thank you all for the amount of times you check in about Jonathan Hoang. You amaze me. You really take these kids under your wings. Jay, are there updates on Jonathan Hoang? Jay, can I have a question about Jonathan? Jay, you are amazing. You are an amazing community, and I appreciate you. But it really melted my heart. It made me feel so good about who you are when you turned to Jonathan and you were getting involved. You're getting involved, and I really, truly appreciate that. Thank you so much for showing me what you're all here for. Your amazing hearts. We are now going to go to, I'm going to begin with Sebastian, because his will lead into Summer's, because At Night is now advertising the two of them. Actually, put a 1 if you are familiar with Summer's case and a 2 if you are not, please. I want to know where I should begin with Summer Wells. Summer Moon Utah Wells, from Rogersville, Tennessee, Hawkins County, a small town from a holler. A lot of chaos around the disappearance, a lot of neighbors inserting themselves, a lot of misleading information just to hear their voices heard, and not the people you wanted to hear from most of the time, mom, dad. But then mom and dad does kind of, you're going to see something reminiscent in this case. Dad, very similar to CP, doing his rounds at night all over YouTube. Okay, most of you from some are, some aren't. Okay, well, I'm gonna bring us all up to date because Summer's getting wrapped into our repertoire too. I'm doing very well, Icy Bomba. It's so good to see you. Oh, thank you for your support, Icy Bomba. I appreciate it. Okay, so we are these children that are in front of you. We are going to raise awareness for, report on them, keep them out there. We can't let them be forgotten. Okay. So, Summer Wells. I'm going to go there. I see many of you know of her case, but I'll pop in details here and there. I will continue to do deep dives on Summer. I have a lot of information that I can share from back and get us caught up forth. Right now, what I want to tell you is there was a delay in her being reported missing, is what we're hearing, and I do believe it because Ronnie Lawson, the sheriff of Hawkins County, had brought this up years ago. Why did mom wait hours to call? Now, why he did nothing about that, I do not know. Okay, there's a whole story there that I will share with you in another video about the sheriff. Hit the notification bell. Please subscribe because we are going to get into it. But right now, Summer Wells went missing June 15th, 2021. Summer, like Sebastian, had a super fun day. It was not a Sunday, excuse me. Had a fun day. They woke up. Summer got to go with mom while the other siblings, her brothers, stayed home to clean house for CPS visit. The next day, Summer got to go with grandma and mom in the morning and drop grandma off at the hospital. And while grandma was at the hospital, go pick up one of Summer's friends that she loves, a young man who is about a decade, well, at least 8 to 10 years older than she is, also lived around there in the hollers, Hunter. And they went swimming, according to Candace Bly, Summer's mom, while waiting for Grandis. But the story changes, by the way, throughout. It's very similar to Sebastian's, because what I'm telling you, then I'm going to say, however, another time, the mother said Grandis, the grandma, was with them at the pond. Very strange, because Grandis is Summer Moon Utah Wells' grandma. The reason I refer to her as Grandis is Summer's mom's name is Candace. Summer's grandma is Candace. So the grandma who's named Candace, we call Grandis. Okay? So Grandis was getting her knee checked. The story is allegedly one of the other boys kicked her knee, but they were taking her to ER. Candace said they had an appointment that morning. So they made an appointment at ER and dropped her off. And then she and Summer went and got Hunter. And they went swimming for a little while at, oh my goodness, Warrior's Path. Sorry, I haven't looked into my notes in this, so this is off the top of my head. Warrior's Path. This is the same day she's reported missing. Okay, this is her fun day, right? They're videotaping her, you name it, her swimming in the lake. Hunter says she goes under. He takes his shirt off, jumps in to grab her. Candace says that's not true. She wasn't under that long. Another rendition is Grandis is with them at the lake, which is very confusing. Someone with a knee injury walking that narrow path down to a lake. Later on, Grandis admitting she had no idea. No, she wasn't there. Also admitting when they got home from all of that, she went right to bed. But her daughter's story, Summer's mother's story, is not that. It's a whole interaction. They got home. They put away groceries. By the way, that's another one. They went to the grocery store that day. Hunter and Summer stayed in the car. Apparently, they got a whole bunch of stuff that they got home. The boys helped unload unload the vehicle. They were unloading the vehicle. Then and here's another thing. Next story. Mom says, well, we didn't get that much. Very interesting. It's changed. I didn't think you could make an appointment for the ER either. That's why I kind of stressed that a little bit. Then she says, well, my mom needed her knee brace fixed. And she said she wanted to plant flowers, Mom did. Now, Mom claims later on she went right to bed. But Summer's mom says, no, Grandis wanted to plant flowers. And I said, well, I know a little girl who'd like to help. So I went and got, Summer, come on, let's plant flowers. Well, when you see the pictures, it's just weeds, maybe a cactus here and there in these flower beds. I'll let you form your own opinions. Hi, Lainey. And then they went to, and then they claimed, she said, well, then I just turned my head for a second to went and go work on Mom's brace. And Summer said, I want to go in and play with my brothers. She said, I turned and walked her the few steps to our place, watched her go in and said, boys, watch Summer. Well, it was just a few steps away. Then went and helped with the knee brace. It's still daylight, by the way. And in this daylight, up on the top of a holler, no one else around, and there is no entrance. You go in there for a reason, okay? It's not like a thoroughfare, Ben Hill Road. Also, by the way, Jonathan Hoang's house, his street ends in a cul-de-sac just like Sebastian's. So they say, well, I'm helping my mom. Then I go into the house and I say, boys, this is Mom says she goes into the home and she says, where's Summer? Well, she went down to play downstairs in her room. Now, we'll get into her room, another video, but it's not a room. It's a dungeon. It's horrid. It's terrifying. And it is very enlightening, in my opinion, to the lifestyle. Okay. And then Summer was gone, just gone. So from her mother's mobile home, feet away, someone there claiming came up on the property in daylight, Candace and Grandis right there, dogs all over the property that didn't bark, and snatched Summer off the property, out of the basement or something else. We've heard the varying stories that Candace saw her go outside when she was in the kitchen. See, varying stories. Sound familiar? Varying stories. Okay. When police were called that day, the husband, who was not home, allegedly is the one who called. We have not heard the 911 calls yet. When he was at work allegedly, but there's been a lot of strange conversations like, well, all of that. Him calling Candace and saying there's someone on the property grabbing children just hours before. Very strange. So he calls law enforcement. Law enforcement shows up, and where's Mom? The one who was there, the one who last saw Summer, the one who knows everything that happened. She's in the house on Facebook, social media, and talking to friends. She won't go out and talk to the police. Okay? When Mom ends up finally going on Dr. Phil for her first and only national interview, she breaks down and cries and leaves. Very sus. Father, Don Wells, has a history, according to his ex-wife, and Jen Coffindaffer has brought it up as it's been confirmed that the ex-wife did say Don Wells, back in the day when they had 2 young children, he was caught trying to sell their boys, or boy and girl, on the streets for drug money, allegedly. But many said that. Okay, so they come home. They go get after swimming. Whether they took Brandis' picture up after, we don't know. Story changes. They go get a slushie. No food, mind you. No food has been mentioned all day. Oh, and by the way, they went to the hippie house to get a tea, a twisted tea or something, and vapes, I think. Okay. She gave some to the boy. He said she claimed. Mom says she didn't. Okay. They go and get slushies at Sonic. Verified. I remember speaking to an employee. They were there, but they didn't get food. So all day long, she's just had a slushie, okay, that we know of. And then when they go home, Mom snaps a picture. They drop off Hunter. Apparently, Summer, there's 2 renditions. Hunter's mom says Summer was asleep. Candace says she wasn't asleep yet. But the odd thing is Summer, who had been swimming at the lake and stuff, Grandis, Summer wasn't always dressed well, she didn't look well groomed, didn't look well fed, just malnourished, etc. Okay. And Grandis had a brand new kindergarten outfit for her. Little sweatsuit, silky, kind of like what Sebastian's pants were that he went missing in that material, right? And it's for kindergarten. Well, on the way home that day, they decided to put her in it and take a picture of her in the vehicle, leaning up against 2 milk cartons. Her nail beds are discolored. And for a long time, YouTube went back and forth on, as we studied it, was she with us then? Did something happen? She wasn't. Mom turned, Grandis takes a picture because Mom asks her while they're driving to get a picture of her. Grandis gets a picture, but not the video. And Candace explains, well, I just wanted that video or that picture because she looked so much like her daddy while she was sleeping. Many believe that was her final photo. Also, when law enforcement was called, they gave law enforcement this photo that you see of Summer right here. And that's what Summer looked like the Christmas before. When Summer went missing, Summer had a shaved head and was much thinner than that picture. Her cheeks were sunken. She looked very unhealthy. We will go through many of Summer's case with you. I will show you much. Pictures, everything. She deserves awareness, and we've got to start screaming for Summer because no one else is. At least Seth is screaming for Sebastian. Jonathan's family is screaming. Michael's family is screaming. We need to scream for Summer too. Yes, Summer's brothers were all taken away by CPS, put in other homes, and they are very happy. And I believe I heard I'm not going to say it until I research it. But They have a much happier life. So Summer's disappearance, she sadly isn't here right now. We don't know where she is or what happened, but she saved her brothers because they got the heck out of that situation, a terrible situation. Summer has an Amber Alert also. Sadly, with Summer, just like with Sebastian, TBI fails to update the public. The last written public in TBI newsroom for Summer Wells is June 14th, 2023. They did a news article for Summer. TBI did. It was a lot of damage control because Sebastian, this was last June, and I'm going to play it for you. It's because, in my opinion, Sebastian was also missing too, and they were getting a lot of heat. Summer's head was shaved. Now, Summer was also seen dancing in front of a barrel, red barrel in a dress in the rain, saying for sale. The red barrel said for sale. There are a lot of theories. I do not know how old the oldest is now, my friend, but I will take you down that path. It is an interesting case. I know a lot about it, but the one thing I will tell you is there's so much chaos and craziness in it. Not threats and stuff, but just ridiculousness that it's hard to report on it. At times you really have to filter through and be creative of how to grab information in Summer's case. People aren't talking, lead investigators aren't searching, TBI is not giving updates, Hoang County Sheriff doesn't say a word. Okay, they did say something, however, in February around her birthday. So we are going to get to it. Let me make sure my computer is plugged in, and I want to give a heads up. I have family coming in a couple of hours, but in case they get here early, you may hear dogs barking. Okay. Turn it on. Hold on. 1 second. I'm plugging in here. There. Okay. Let me share with you what I have for Summer. The first thing I want to share, well, I'm not going to say it in case I can't find the tabs in the order. We're going to be covering Summer Wells, also from a small town. One thing I'm going to share with you. Summer was 5, about to start kindergarten. And that was just like Michael Vaughn, also 5. And they both looked so much alike. It really rocked everyone because within a month of each other, a month and 12 days, they disappeared. And they looked so much alike. It was just absolutely, it really was shocking, scary, terrifying that these two kids, same age. And yes, Summer is from Tennessee. Oh, that's not what I wanted to share first. What I want to share for you first is to show you where Summer is as opposed to, I want to show you where Summer is as opposed to Sebastian, just to give you some reference. Both are covered by TBI. Okay. Now, Kingsport right here is where Summer Wells is from. Follow my cursor. I'm on the far right of the screen. Let me make sure you can see what I'm doing. Okay. I just like to give you as much reference as I can give you. Kingsport right here. This is where Summer Wells is from. Okay. This is where Hendersonville Sebastian Rogers is from. Oh, I'm sorry. Kingsport is not where Summer's from. Kingsport is where Layla, Santinella, and Helen Snap are from. She is from Rogersville. Let me see if that's up here. I may have put Kingsport in there, but it's in that area. She's from Rogersville. Okay. And what's interesting is we hear a lot of things. Let me go back out. We hear a lot of things about Pigeon Forge and all those things. Well, the Pigeon Ford and Gallatin, those things came up in Summer's case as well. So really interesting. And it says Rogersville right here. So why am I not seeing it? So Rogersville is the county seat of Hawkins County, but it's howlers, and it seems very beautiful, but also like Sebastian's, the terrain, thick, lots of caves, lots of water, lots of hills, lots of howlers. something else. But they are in the same state. They are in the same state. We are going to listen to TBI on the 24th. On the 15th, 2024. And this is, mind you, after Sebastian went missing too. So 2 high-profile cases in Tennessee. Delia, a lot of people thought that. A lot of people thought that the knee injury was alleged and for pain, allegedly, and possibly Candace had taken some, and that's why she lost sight of Summer. Or other things. Now, this is Josh Melton, Assistant Director, Criminal Investigation of TBI, coming out June 15th, 2024. Very high profile at that point, 2 cases. So you're going to see a very different take on his talk about Summer Wells. Normally they say we don't have anything, but he goes into it. They've got the director here, not just the spokesperson for Summer's case, which is Leslie Earnhardt. Leslie Earnhardt is the public information officer for Summer's case. And we barely see her, but I know her name because she's appeared more than the one for Sebastian. We actually knew this one's name. The one for Sebastian, maybe we saw her 1.5 times, I'll give it. Okay, let's go ahead and go. And that's what discourages me. We've gone over the office, the Department of Justice's Amber Alert requirements for contact for keeping the child out in the public media. At nights, keeping Sebastian out there. TBI should be. That public information officer should be. Even if you don't have anything to report, you've got to circulate that. Get her out in the local media. Get them out there. Find a reason. And this is Summer Moon, Utah Wells.
We don't have the evidence in this case to know for sure whether or not Summer was abducted or whether or not she walked away from her home and became lost. It's really important to us to not focus all of our efforts on just one of those 2. We think that the only way we'll be successful in finding Summer is to continue to walk down both of those investigative paths to ensure that we don't become focused on one area alone and miss something that's crucially important. I would say this case has not gone cold. A cold case is typically framed up as a case where there are no tips or leads that are coming in and there are no investigative efforts that are happening because there is no place to travel with the investigation. I would say in this case, thanks to the public, we've continued to have tips and leads that have come in that agents have been able to follow up on continuously. And the agents have worked tirelessly when tips and leads weren't coming in to try to find ways to investigate when typically people would lay down their effort. It has been a great partnership between the community and law enforcement to not let this case sit and go sterile. We continue to focus on ground search efforts. We continue to focus on interviews of those who may have information about vehicles that have traveled through the area or technology that could have been used that may give us an investigative lead. All stones are being turned over. There's not one thing that's being done. We've been extremely creative as we've investigated this case and continue to try to find ways to turn over rocks that we didn't even know that were there to turn over. Children are our top priority at TBI. They are the most vulnerable population that we have. They're our most precious things in our world. TBI has always placed an emphasis on missing children. We've done that through multiple programs that are established here. We look for children when most people aren't. And this case is one that we've just not been able to overcome, and it's troubling. Many people have speculated what they think has happened in this case. The difficult part of the speculation is that if we as investigators speculate and focus our efforts in one direction, we're making a huge mistake. we have to make sure that we're being completely comprehensive as we investigate. And being focused in one direction is a tragedy for an investigation. So until we find evidence that points us in a direction that we know is the right direction, we'll continue to be comprehensive. We'll continue to explore every option that can be out there, and we would continue to ask for the public's help in doing so. Typically, we have a couple of agents assigned to an investigation, and that's been enough. We've had over 6,500 leads, tips and leads come in on this case. Those have all been reviewed. They've been worked. We continue to get those. And it is a monstrous task, but it's one that's not overwhelmed us. We have been strategic in the way that we've handled this investigation. We have some of our most talented agents assigned to this case, some of our most talented intelligence analysts from the Bureau assigned to this case. We have brought in subject matter experts within TBI from across the state to assist in this investigation. We have thrown everything that we know to throw at this case, and we haven't had the answers that we need to get. We know we'll get them, but we don't have them today. When I see the picture of Summer Wells, I see my daughter. And I can tell you that if my daughter was missing, I would sure hope that somebody was looking for her every day. And it brings me concern and satisfaction, really, the concern that we don't have the answers, the satisfaction of knowing that we have the best agents at TBI that are working on this case in connection with other local law enforcement and federal agencies who are doing their best. And if my daughter was missing, all of the people that are working on this case are the people who I would choose to work on a case if my daughter was missing.
Another story at 6, day 2 in a...
First of all, I call baloney because I doubt at all, and I know I wouldn't want Ronnie Lawson, my opinion on my child's case. He had Don Wells in jail for 10 months to a year and never admitted to never questioning him about Summer's case while he was behind bars. He is a waste, in my opinion. Okay? And I don't want to say it, but his son, we're going to dive deep. Hit that notification bell, subscribe. We are going deep. I'm going to share everything in Rewind and as we go forward, because we are going forward with Summer too. We are going forward with Summer too. If her parents want to walk around town like nothing's happening, let them. But we're not. We are going to be her voice. Yes, I'm going to go through all of At Night's updates. They are not going to tolerate this. They have brought Summer under their wing. We are as well going to reignite Summer on our channel. We are going to keep going. This is not okay. Tennessee, do better. And you know what's even sadder? When you see, how about do something? I called John Puit, the lead detective on Summer's case, years ago. And it was not the friendliest conversation because, first of all, I was upset that he answered on the first ring sitting at his desk. Second of all, just same thing. It's ongoing. I'm covering leads. What do you cover? Please give us an update, something. Nope, nothing. So we are getting there. We're getting there. I do too, Diana Bond. But I am trying to passively, aggressively go around that, if you know what I mean, in respect for the stance of family members. I'm always here to do, support that perspective. But I will not support the perspective of someone like Candace Bly, in my opinion, who the time I heard her say when people were calling her out for never searching for Summer, sound familiar? You know what she had the audacity to say? And if someone finds that video, please send it to me. It might be on her own channel that she had. She said, I search for her. When I'm driving down the highway, I always look out my window to see if I can see her. Are you kidding me? What, 55 to 65 miles down the hour, down the road, the highway. That was her searching. So when we have parents who don't search and parents who hide from the national media, like she cried and left Dr. Phil, we have to be a voice for these kids. Not everyone's as lucky to have a Seth or Jonathan's parents who go right straight up to the attorney general, Seth, who gets Dog the Bounty Hunter at night. I mean, amazing. They won't stop. That's what we need. When there's children who don't have that, we need to be that voice. So let's keep going. I want to share. I'm just going to keep sharing on Summer. I have a little bit of a list. The few things I wanted to highlight for you regarding what they just said. That man, the director, it was damage control in my opinion. And when I heard that last year, I was screaming at the TV. Don't tell us that children in Tennessee are your number one priority, please. When you allow the Hawkins County Sheriff and lead detective to act like a child is not missing, to not update the public, and even if there's not an update, to do things like At Night does. Just get their name out there, get their face out there, talk about them. Nothing. So, and a sheriff whose son, some serious offenses, should have gone to prison and ended up 1 year in the county jail. So, dirty is as dirty does. And I'm going to say it, and I'll say it, and I'll say it. Dirty is as dirty does. In my opinion, allegedly speculating, but tired of seeing it. Okay? We are advocates, and we are going to begin advocating. So buckle up, get ready. We're going to journey down and start raising our voices for these kids. So one thing he did say is they had, I thought was very interesting. He said that they had gone over 6,000 leads. I know for a fact, two of which I gave never were followed up. And I called them in personally. They said that they have many agents and they're going through things just in case to make sure there had been enough done. However he put that. That right there shows they're questioning the level of the investigation. Okay. He also mentions, and I always want you to form your own opinions. I'm going to tell you this. I have very strong feelings about the Summer Wells case. It is, along with Michael Vaughn, the first two cases before I had to take a break and take care of Mom that I covered. I never made it to Tennessee, but I made it to Fruitland. But I will tell you, on Summer's first birthday that she was not home, I will never forget crying all day, just watching videos of Summer. So I have very strong feelings about this case. It's hard to cover, like I said, because there's so much shenanigans and nothing from law enforcement. And when you have nothing from law enforcement, like the Department of Justice says, when there's Amber Alerts, you give updates, you keep them alive in the media, you share, you do all this. But when we're not getting that is when the drama and the chaos begin and people start filling stuff in, right? Hey, Bliss, how you doing? Hey, Teresa. Hi, Holly. Hi, Intuitively Irish. Brandy and Indy. So he also mentioned that they are still doing ground searches. Now, he said this last year. This was June 15th of 2024. And I will be looking in news articles to see if that's accurate, because I do know that June 15th of 2022, 1 year mark, there had been nothing. And they suddenly came out with an article that morning stating that they go fly drone, a private eye had been hired by the Wells, yes, excuse me, sorry, I catch myself, the Wells, to search the area with drones, and that they were doing that every week, at least every month. And I said, the heck they are. They're doing that today because it's the anniversary. And the reason I knew they weren't is because those neighbors around there fall over themselves to speak on Summer. So if any of them saw drones regularly, they would have been all over on YouTube, because it's the opposite of Sebastian's neighbors. They could not stop talking, fighting, still going on is what I hear. Okay. So that is, it's just heartbreaking. Let me keep going through things, but please don't tell me. I have to know if you know of them ground searching, because the whole drone thing was just a media thing and they never went back again. It didn't get filmed again. The neighbors didn't report they were there again or before. So remember, it's easy to make things look like you're doing them, but it's different than doing them. It's like the kid who sits in their room for an hour pretending to do their English homework and just anything they can, but pretending and not doing it, and working so hard to hide that they're not doing it, that they may as well have just done it. But when you don't, you got to work extra hard. $400. How long had I been muted? I have been talking for so long about Summer. Did you guys hear any of that? I was talking about Ronnie Lawson's son and everything. Oh my goodness. Did you all hear it at all? You don't look for something when you know where it is. Oh, I wasn't muted. Okay, thank you. Woo, worried about that. Okay. So yes, Summer's case, very dear to my heart. And I'm glad that we're getting things sparked up. And hopefully, just like Jonathan Hoang's family going to the Attorney General of Washington, is supposedly going to get law enforcement, they say, moving. Hopefully, now that Summer Wells' picture is all over X with At Night and Dog, hopefully, Ronnie Lawson and John Puit will explain what they have done or what they can or what's going on. Okay? The top politicians, I agree, blessings in Tennessee need to be looked into. I do want to let you all know there is a primary in Sumner County coming up for their county commissioners, their sheriff, their mayors. And I know that, be advocates. Don't let people get reelected who don't care about one of their own. Not don't care about, but need to be diligent. Speak of one of their own. Keep them out in the media. Like J.D. Huff. He's from a small town. All these kids on this thumbnail are from small towns. But when we end with Michael Vaughn, you will see one chief who excelled. There's no excuse. So let's keep going on Summer. He also said that the famous TBI term, in my opinion, is no stones will be left unturned. I'd like to know really what they're doing. I would love to hear John Pruitt come out and tell us what they've been doing in the last 12, 24, 36 months, 48. But anyway, let's keep going. Here we go. If you have not met Summer's parents, yes, Christina, I'm telling you, one time I called and I was just hot because he answered on the first ring, and that just blew my mind. I was like, why aren't you out there doing something? I just was so fed up, and no one's advocating for her from her family. That's another thing in Summer's case. And this is her mother. I'm trying to get everyone caught up here. Caroline, I would love that. I would love it. I would love it if Summer were alive as well. Okay? I do. We have to hashtag keep the faith, but we also have to keep looking everywhere, okay? And I keep the faith too until there's evidence, right? But let me give you a little background on these parents. Mom, like I said, when law enforcement was called, Dad does all the talking, even though Dad was gone allegedly at work. Sound familiar? Mom, when law enforcement showed up that night, Mom didn't come out of the house. She let Dad handle it. And she was in the home posting things on social media and talking to friends, allegedly, from what we've heard and seen the posts. Very strange behavior. When Mom went on Dr. Phil and they started asking questions, she started crying and felt like she was being interrogated and accused. Walked off stage. Very strange. From the very, very, very beginning of that daylight day when they said she was taken, and all their Grandis's mobile home is right there next to the house and the back doors area, claiming someone walked up that howler with all those dogs, not barking. Now, the dogs didn't bark miraculously, and took Summer. But what's really scary is that last final picture in the car was very odd in her brand new clothing, asleep, because they wanted Daddy to see she sleeps like him with her arms up in the air. But it was very creepy because I always worry, was that your last photo of your daughter? Okay. When law enforcement came, she did not give the photo from that day. Sound familiar? Did not give the photo from that day or the video from swimming that day. She gave a photo from months before. Summer's head was shaved, just starting to grow out a little bit. I have photos where it's bald and she's got bruising. It's horrid. Why do parents shave their heads? I don't know. But absolutely, sidetrack. A lot is similar. So, rumors about the mom, of course, have come out. But the scariest thing that I can tell you is, well, there's many. The dungeon she sleeps in, the fact that she shared a bed and they didn't often sleep in clothes, Dad and her. She would shower with Dad, and she's at the level of you know what with Dad. All of this going on. And like I said earlier, Dad did his celebrity tour all over YouTube, and most of the time it was evenings, and had tipped the glass a little bit too much. Okay. So, very, very, but Dad, as soon as this occurred, Dad said, well, I'll see her in, how did he say it? I'll see her in the afterlife, I want to say. But that's not how, the resurrection is what he said. That was quite early on. So they thought she had been taken. He also said, very graphic things about what he thought someone may have done to her. Like, it was very odd. And let's go back and remember the history. Don's first wife said he tried to sell their children for DRUGSs. And Candace has 2 other children from in Wisconsin, both of whom were taken away. And Summer is missing, and her other 3 boys in Tennessee, Summer's siblings, were taken away. So of the 6 children, 5 were taken away by the states, and 1 is missing. And let's not forget that she also has a sister who went missing. The alleged statement being the sister called CPS on Candace. Candace lost her kids. Later on, shortly, the sister went missing. That's the rumor. 2 in one family. The common denominator for the missing sister is Grandis and Candace. They were both there for both of them. Grandis took off in a mobile home shortly after Summer went missing and went on her vacation to see her family out in Wisconsin, Minnesota. And I don't even believe that law enforcement checked that mobile home or whatever it was, RV, before she left. Sound familiar? Don apparently was just starting to meet them, if I'm not wrong, Brandy and Indy, or was later on, but I'm not sure. But my question is, my first thought was no, and if at all, was starting to meet. Thank you, Christina. Appreciate it. So, without further ado, you will be meeting Summer's mom and dad. Buckle up. If you think you get frustrated, you will be. And if you think that it's odd, it is. And they don't search. And I'm not saying anything that isn't not there out in the media. She has her own channel, or did. One time wearing a tinfoil hat and saying the one rule of the night was you can't bring up Summer. Can't talk about Summer. So Grandis changed vehicles or had a bumper painted. Wow. Didn't Grandis drive home Jose the groomer? I think Jose was a groomer. Didn't Grandis take Jose the groomer somewhere? Jose the groomer ends up across the United States deceased. Y'all, I'm telling you, there's a lot going on in this case. The, what do they call it? The hillbilly mafia, is that what they called it? She started crying on Dr. Phil. But please listen to her. This is Summer's mother, Candace Bly, had taken away every child but one. She is now speaking of the one child that went missing. Yes, it's very dirty, Christina. And it's very similar. And when you go back to past YouTube lives and see how often that was his evenings, was telling people to quit talking about it. True story.
This property by herself or off this yard by her swing, I feel in my heart that somebody a lot. I know she didn't walk away from this property by herself or off this yard by her swing. I feel in my heart that somebody has came up here and took her, has lured her away from here. Me and my mother and her were planting flowers. And we went in after we got done washing our hands, and she got a piece of candy from Grandma, and she wanted to go back over and see her brothers. And I said, okay. And I walked her all the way over to the porch, and I watched her walk into the kitchen where the boys were watching TV. And I told the boys, I said, watch Summer. I'll be back. And within 2 minutes, I came back. And I asked the boys where their sister was, and they said, she went downstairs, Mom, to play with her toys in the playroom. I said, okay. And I yelled downstairs for her a couple times, and I didn't get no answer. which was unusual because usually she always answers me. And so I went down there to check, and she was nowhere in sight. She was just gone. I don't go on walks around here or runs because I'm scared of the bears and snakes and even the coyotes that are around here. Well, whoever has my daughter, I pray and hope that they have not harmed her and they bring her back to us safe and sound.
Just turn.
Bear with me for fair use, just so I can talk and give a commentary on that. And this is credit, just so you know, to I'll let you know in a second when I click back over there. So yes, 2 minutes. When she says 2 minutes, it's funny how we don't get any times, but she was only out of my sight for 2 minutes. Okay. And she was down in the playroom playing with her toys. She wasn't there. Now, one thing she says, which is, yeah, that's interesting, Robin. That is interesting. Yes, Fred Hill. She said, we're going to deep dive it all. He married a YouTuber. Interesting, really interesting. Dead cactus are not flowers. So I do see you all follow the case. Good. Planting flowers for 2 minutes. Yes. And she, there were no toys, really. I mean, it was gross. When Dr. Phil had done the interview of the basement, they had fixed it up a little bit, put things in there. But when CM from YouTube interview room did amazing video, we saw the real situation. So very, very disturbing. So mom was home, but dad's the bully of the narrative. And dad's the celebrity all over YouTube. When dad was in jail for a DUI, mom started doing her own celebrity tour, creating her own channel, going on, but she was the big star. But what she didn't talk about was Summer. Sound familiar, everyone? The house was disgusting, yes. And I heard that. That is not unusual in some homes in Tennessee. In the howlers, excuse me, and not judging Tennesseans, in different areas. Thank you so much, Kath. Yes, there was cockroaches everywhere. Thank you so much, Kathy, for your super sticker, your donation. I truly appreciate that. And all of you coming and spending time with me on this holiday weekend. I'm going to apologize ahead of time. When my nephew gets here and some family starts arriving, you know these two are going to go bananas. But he said he was going to let me know first. Yes, that's what I was trying to say, Caroline, is it's not just Tennessee. It's a style of living in different areas, and law enforcement will go into those places, and it's not shocking because it happens a lot in their communities in areas. Thank you for the super sticker. Let's go on now and listen to Don Wells. Y'all, are they still together? They are, aren't they? Yes, I thought I saw that. Oh, hi, prayer warrior. It's good to see you. I've been praying for you, my friend. You're home alone? Well, I'll be on tomorrow. Remember when we spent Christmas Eve and Christmas together? We'll do that tomorrow, too. I just after my family stuff or before. Don't forget, we're doing Sunday night at the movies, True Crime Review, and the winner was John Bonet. So we're going to go with John Bonet first. I will give you a review. Hey, Gma, so glad you're here. I was going to text you today about Michael. Welcome in. I'm going to, I'll give you a review on the new Netflix for John Bonet, and you don't have to watch it beforehand. You can decide if you want to watch it. But one thing I did pull from there is some things that we can take to Sebastian's case. At Crime Time Buzz, do you have the pics from the first interview? Are we talking Summer? Hi, everyone. Welcome in. Hi, Amber Benner. Beth Leg. Shauna, I'm not sure what comment you mean, hon. I got behind in the chat. It's written all over their faces. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, Shauna. I was behind in the chats. Like Katie the Guilt. In your opinion, guys, remember to say, in my opinion, please. In my opinion, I'm protecting you, me, the channel, everyone. So yes, they planted their cacti and their dead weeds. I'm, of course, Panda Bear's mom. Thank you for being here. I'm not sure tomorrow yet because with my family, sometimes times linger on longer or start later. So I will let you all know. I'll put out, check your community post. That's usually where I'll give you guys a time. But I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. So that's Candace right there. Okay. Do not talk about summer. Now we are going to Don Wells.
I mean, go to the FBI, the police, and clear it up. I mean, I don't know. It seems kind of elusive.
It's really strange that I've never seen this truck and I've never heard of it until just recently. But I wish they would come forward and explain themselves. I mean, if you're not a suspect, at least come forward and say what you've seen. She was a tomboy. I shaved my head. She wanted to have her head shaved like me and the boys did.
She tried to shave her head
She tried
in
to
the
shave her
back
head
and make
herself.
it. I think you can see it in some of the pictures, and it was getting out of control. So we decided to shave her head off and let it grow back long, and she shaved her head so she wouldn't feel bad. And
Well, both told different stories. Kids do try and cut their hair, but a little bit different stories there. And Don was really struggling getting that narrative out. And I only say that because I've listened to him so much and I know what's coming sometimes. Hold tight, buckle up. This is Don Wells, his wife, Candace Bly.
but it didn't bother her at this point. Well, I knew right away that she was abducted. You know, I knew that right away, and that's what I told them from the beginning. But they have to go through their, I forget the word.
Investigation.
They have to do one step at a time, I guess. But I'm sorry that they had to spend so many man hours in these woods and everything. I've seen them limping and everything else, and I feel for them. But I just wish there was a way that neighbors could search neighbors' houses, and then if they're not willing, get a search warrant or something. But there's just no way you can search every single house, in the eastern United States or whatever. But I wish there was a way. Just thankful for the person or persons that's doing that, out of love, and trying to get information and trying to get her found. We thank them from the bottom of our hearts.
It means a lot.
And we thank everybody who's trying so hard and praying so hard. And she's an awesome young lady, and we just want her back. Yeah, there's always going to be haters, and it's always going to be that way in this world. And we just want to focus on the good friends and Christian people that are trying to help us and praying for us and praying for Summer. And we thank them from the bottom of our hearts. And that's the kind of people we try to relate with and socialize with. So we don't know anything about, no red truck, or we hardly know many of our neighbors. I mean, because we just try to be around good people. I mean, and we do have good people in this area. We found out since this has all happened. We got some real good neighbors and good folks everywhere. But
the most important thing is to bring Summer home safe.
What do y'all think? He calls his daughter, who is 5 years old, a young lady. That is concerning to me, considering his historical past with deviance. He tells a story that, gosh, was it his daughter or his niece? His oldest daughter or his niece? When she turned, it was her birthday, she turned 18 and was AR'd by a family member or something. I'll pull that up. Yes, Caroline. Yes, hold on one second. And he tells this story, and he was so proud of her for not making a big deal about it. And it's just was, it shows, what it shows is his interpretation of how serious R is, right? So proud of her, she didn't make a big deal about it. And that's his words. And that reminds me of Snuggle Trouble, because that minimizes. Yeah, they were worried about the haters. Yes. Also, when he says, well, we know that she was taken, abducted. Remember what Deception Detective says, certainty. You shouldn't have certainty. You would, if your child's missing, you'll take any thought someone might have and say, follow it. I don't care, because you never know which one's going to lead to your child, right? These two were not out searching. Like I said, the one time I heard Candace say she does search, she said, like I said, she was, when I'm driving down the highway, I look out the window towards those roads or woods. Okay, not searching. However, I will tell you that Don Wells did search for Evelyn Boswell. Little baby Evelyn, she was in Sullivan County, close to them. And he searched for Evelyn before Summer went missing. But did not. He's talked about it, but never, where did he search for Summer? It was a mess. It might be, Amber. I always worry. I do worry. Baby Evelyn is one of the saddest cases. And buckle up, because what you're going to hear about Michael Vaughan is as sad, in my opinion. Just like JJ Ryan, or Vallow, excuse me. Very similar. So these are the parents of Summer Wells. Now, Megan is absolutely a monster, yes. Yes, I believe many calls to the home near OV. Summer also had CPS report. They had CPS history plus an open case, and the reason the boys stayed home that day, allegedly, and we were told, and didn't go on this big fun outing, is because they were home cleaning, supposed to be home cleaning for CPS, who was visiting the next day. Several calls for 911 for fights between Candace and Don. Yes. Lots of issues there. When CM went walking down in the basement to film her bedroom, and he had to crawl through a floor and the stairs, and he gets down there, and the first thing we see is porn on the TV. And that was Summer's room. That's where the boys were staying now. It's just, in my opinion, horrid environment. But all of them are gone now. So, not my opinion. Proven. Okay, let's keep going. Let's listen. Please give it a thumbs up if you have not. Yes. One thing I do want to say, Caroline, because you're asking some really good questions. Could have been a handoff if it was a case of SA. Yes. Now, it was rumored from neighbors that Summer allegedly was rented out at times. Total, not verified. Okay? However, I'm going to look back at an article that I read a long time ago for you all, where it said the most common of trafficking in East Tennessee was parental right out of the home. Very scary. And the day he came home from work, he even admits it. He pulled in and went directly to this one shed that's at the bottom of their property near the street. Why did he go there? It worried me that that's where someone was supposed to return her maybe and didn't. But you never know. You never know. Actually, at Caroline, I read it. I read that in an article that was the most common form of trafficking. And this was back in about 2021, I read it. In that Eastern Tennessee. Now, was that happening on this property? No, I'm giving you the rumors. That's absolutely not verified. We've had basically nothing from law enforcement on this, okay? So, hi, Mini Panthers. Let's go ahead and continue. This is Don Wells, Summer Wells' father, and Candace Bly Wells, the mother.
I'm sorry that you feel this way about us, but we love our children with everything we have. We've never went without, thanks to Summer's daddy and my husband. He's always provided for us and has worked as much as he could and can and still is. And I'm sorry that you guys feel that way, but that's my baby, and nobody would ever treat her like that as long as I was around, ever.
She loves to dance. She would always want me. She says, "Daddy, hold my hand so I can twirl." And she would just like to twirl and twirl and twirl till my arm got tired, you know. I put out there that one of Summer's favorite songs was Godzilla, and they say, and they're jumping all over me about past tense was, well, I'm sorry about that. It's just.
She also liked the song by New Breed. It was called House, My House. She sung that a lot of times when I play it on the TV. She loved to dance.
She liked to think of herself as a princess, and and all that, like all young girls do. And
she loved Frozen. She loved to be that Elsa, and
I think she really loved to be in church because she felt a lot of love there. And I think you can't explain what that love is, but you feel it and you know it, when you're young. And she felt that there, and she loved everybody in that church, or she loves everybody in that church. I should rephrase that because they'll tear that apart as past tense, and I apologize again for that. I hope she gets to come home, and I hope she gets to be with our church family again.
Our best friend in that church was Robin. She loved her to death.
Yeah, she looked up to women that were.
She come to that church, she went looking for Robin. That was her favorite person.
Any woman that was professional, that
was pretty, beautiful.
She looked up to those kind of women. She, they were the word I'm looking for, I can't think of it, but she looked up to them.
That was really sad. Yes, they slept in the same bed together, and he no clothes on. Very sad story. Did you hear where he said she always wanted me? So those little things that there's always a little bit, that truth that when you worry about a child, right? I worry of his language, his linguistics, his choices. But also, I want to bring to your attention, this isn't long. Let me make sure when this was, because I want to know when this interview was. Okay. It was 14 days after. So mom is, to her defense, mother is probably, as you can see, most likely highly medicated. Now, to her defense, her child, as far as we know, was, you know what we know, but whatever the case is, your child's not there. She's, to me, highly medicated, in my opinion. I'm not saying anything bad. I'm saying medically, because of what she's going through, because she does talk slower and all that. Yes, dad is tapping mom's back. Is that so she doesn't slip up? I do not know. I know he was not home allegedly. Yes, Teresa Williams. There's no door on the bathroom. He showers with the kids. She's height of you know what. It's just inappropriate. Cockroaches all over you guys. Very sad environment. Very sad environment. And mom, to me, I'll be honest with you, she looks like someone who is, yeah, she looks like someone who just has had a rough life. I could believe that, Peggy. She seems very depressed, in my opinion. And another thing that law enforcement there allowed is YouTube started supporting them and raising money, some people did, to help them fix their home. So guess what? If Summer was somewhere in the drywall, if there was evidence, because I don't believe they went in. Does anyone in the chat remember if they went in through that house? I think they said they went, they went in there, but come on. They redid the drywall, the stairs, the bathroom. You know what I mean? So that was concerning because there's evidence. It could be evidence, even if it's just evidence of a perpetrator coming in, but something could be overlooked. You don't know. So I always get concerned when I hear people remodeling after like a child went missing, or the deep cleaning, things like that. And yes, Caroline Miller, you are absolutely correct. Most parents aren't perfect, but most search for their children when they're missing. I don't think that's a high bar. And some of these parents don't. The West boys, those foster parents weren't searching. They're in prison for the rest of their lives now. Harmony Montgomery's dad wasn't searching. Why? He knew where she was too. He's in prison for the rest of his life. None of those 3 children's bodies have been found, but the parents are in prison for the rest of their lives. It's sad. I mean, if you're struggling as a parent, it's okay. You don't have to be perfect, but don't do something you'll regret. It takes one phone call to a crisis line. It could change your life and your children's. Call it, please.
She'd give them a run for their money every day. She'd give them a run for their money. And there was times, we'd be, at our boys, like, don't do this and don't do that. And next thing you know, the stick would come up and just whop them, and it'd be like, Summer, don't do that.
Summer was the boss of the family.
She typical girl.
When they get out of line, she'd put them in line.
She'd do her best.
She loved to play in the mud and the water and swing on her swing and enjoy dirt.
When I run the lawnmower around, she would run behind me. When the boys run their bikes around, she, as fast as that little bike could go, she would be behind them running and keeping up with them, no problem. She loved to run. She just loved to run, and she could pull herself up on that swing, her full body weight with her 2 hands, and she can do that. None of the other boys can do that, but she can.
Was she in school yet?
No,
No.
she's going this year.
This was supposed to be her first year of
She's been,
kindergarten.
we did all the, what?
I took care of everything.
Yeah.
I had her already taken all of her shots and registered in the school for ready for this year.
I just never expected for anyone to get a hold of my heart like she has, because I try to guard my heart as much as I can, but she holds my heart in her little hands, and I love her with all my heart. I'd do anything to have her back. If there's any way, if you can find it in your heart to please release her somehow. I don't know how you might do that. I mean, 'cause you're probably scared of going to prison for the rest of your life and everything else, I'm sure. But please find it in your heart, have mercy, and find a way of letting her go, and where we can get her back. And just please have mercy on her, and and us, and her brothers. And she's such a loving, good spirit. Please don't hurt her. Please let her come home. My biggest fear is, her being tormented or locked in a dungeon or basement or something, because she loved to be outside all the time. That was her, unfortunately, her downfall. 'Cause a lot of times the boys would be inside and we'd be like, "Where's Summer? Why'd you leave her out there alone? Go get Summer now." And that's happened over and over again. And we'd come out and she would always be close by, but we was always coming. She had to be outside. She was an outdoor person. And
She loved to be outside.
And I'm so afraid that she's locked away. She's such a loving heart and everything, and I'm afraid that she won't be able to, I'm locked away where she can't be outside or play with a puppy or anything, love nature, and that's my greatest fear, that she's not able to do any of
Enjoy
these
the
things
beautiful
anymore,
outdoors.
or that she can possibly, I don't want to think she's dead, but it's a possibility. I don't want to address all the negativity. I just want to focus on the positive,
And find her
because
daughter.
it's so.
Did you see Mom's face when he said that word? Right? One thing I want to bring up is about the church. The church is something that we delved into, looked into, because they did something very odd, and it was like missing children alerts and drills. Very strange. Very strange. And then her favorite Sunday school teacher, Robin, who they're referring to, said Summer was the best hider. It was just really concerning, some of the things that we heard regarding the church, and the fact that they had those drills in itself was very odd. Okay. And he's talking about having her back, and he is talking to the person who has her, which is a good sign. Parents are supposed to do it. He says, please, somehow, I know you're scared, but have mercy. Please release her. We want to have her back. What I'm worried about is he talks about torture, being locked in a room, a basement. It's hard. And then he says it's her downfall that she was outside, like to be outside all the time. It's sad. You can tell he's like, he is working through it as he's speaking, in my opinion, rather than having prepared for this interview. It's not let me put it this way. This doesn't sound like a script to me, but it sounds like he's all over the place, and there's little nuggets of truth in there. And Summer is missing. It was daylight. Mom was home. Grandis says that it is not true. Any of the stuff about Grandis being at Warrior's Path, Grandis wanting to plant flowers, Grandis went to bed. So right there, a family member is saying that is not true. So there's mistruth already going on. Hi, Frank. Also, just the way he talks about in the past tense, they both talk. She loved to dance like a princess. She loved Frozen. You know, it's sad. It's, you know, we still don't know where Summer is. And I am going to go with and share the detective lead on the case. And this is the Summer Wells case. We are going to continue to cover Summer as well as Michael and Jonathan Hoang and Sebastian Wells. Now, we all have different opinions, and that is absolutely
Why are so many
okay.
people playing games
One
that
thing I do
require
want to let you know is this. Oh, hold on. Let me mute this.
money, and watching ads while Vitamajong costs nothing and zero ads?
Maybe the players just don't trust us yet.
Oh, right then.
Hold on
I am
one
the boss
second.
at
I wanna-
Vitamajong,
Oh,
so
thank
listen
you,
up.
Raymond.
Our game is free
I'll say my
with
thank
countless
you
fun
just-
and beautiful levels and works
Thank
without
you so much.
Wi-Fi or mobile data. On a plane, subway, or elevator, you can play
We had
offline
an absolute
anytime.
great
So
ride
don't
yesterday.
hesitate and download Vitamajong
Why is this
now.
not skipping? Come on. I'm not even supposed to have
Unfolded
ads
at
for my
Florida State
premium.
University Thursday when an active shooter opened
No,
fire
this is
near
the
the
wrong
student
one. I'm
union,
sorry.
sending students.
Hold on, guys. Bear with me. I'm trying to get a better one. Here it is. I'm just going to go with WJHL again. Okay. So hopefully that will come up. Okay. Let me get it enlarged. Sorry, my. Okay. Real quick, I just want you to know that this is the first time he's speaking out in the case, and it's April of 2022. He's the lead detective, and Summer went missing June 15th, 2021. So almost 10 months, and it's the first time the lead investigator is speaking. This is credit to WJHL. Raymond, thank you so much for gifting that Crime Time Buzz membership. If you receive it, thank him. Welcome in. Welcome to our big family. And also, we do our reunion Saturdays, 1 p.m. Today's was a lot of fun. Was that today, Alec? Yes, we watched a very amazing video today in the search for Sebastian. So let me go ahead. This is John Puit, the first time 10 months later. Lead detective.
Well, today, for the first time, we are learning the lead investigator in the Summer Wells case is speaking out. The pressure has been immense on the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office to figure out what happened to a little girl who reported missing back in June.
Ansley Daniel has been following this case closely. She has an update. Ansley?
Josh and Sarah, there was frustration, some anger, and the presence of a heavy burden when I sat down with the detective John Puit with the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office. He's led this investigation into Summer's disappearance. He told me that as difficult as this case is to work, he is nowhere near giving up.
It is a lot to shoulder, it's a lot to burden. We have a missing child that we haven't found yet.
Almost 10 months and so much heartache. And investigators aren't immune from that hurt. The question of what happened to Summer Wells still has no answer.
There haven't been very many cases like this. I have never worked a missing child case with all these different entities and agencies involved.
The lead investigator on the case says his days are devoted to finding her.
My day, I check tip line and voicemail when I first get here. I do phone calls and follow-ups on any credible leads I've got. I follow up on anything that I didn't get to a good conclusion the day before. Then I go into my normal caseload of any new cases I've got, follow-ups on them.
They've received nearly 2,000 tips.
I will follow up on everything I can to try to bring closure for this.
Self-proclaimed online investigators and social media sleuths have turned this case into a mess of ideas. And tips have come in from...
Okay, so he is the lead detective. That's what he does. That was his first introduction of himself, and he said that, it's a lot to shoulder, a lot to burden, a very high profile case as well. Okay, and he told what he does. He came in, checks the tip line, voicemails, follows up, makes phone calls, works on things he hadn't finished the day before regarding the case, then goes on his new cases, and he's going to do everything he can to find Summer. Now, there is another interview later on where he says he believes Summer is close to home, but he doesn't reveal why. We'll get to that one another time. But this is John Puit, lead detective. It's just about another minute more.
from everywhere across the U.S. and even overseas. That help, Pruitt says, has led to little more than time wasted.
If these people want to help so much, we always accept applications to certified individuals.
He says the investigation has led to the continued thought that if Summer is found, it will be nearby.
I believe that she would probably be somewhere close by, because we found nothing to lead us to believe that she's been abducted or trafficked out of the area.
Pruitt works alongside the TBI and FBI. Along with the ground search, Pruitt says investigators have poured through data. Almost a year into the case, and Detective Pruitt says it still remains a very active investigation.
I'm not going to let it go cold.
Well, Detective Pruitt assures
Summer Wells' case is a cold case, sadly. It is starting to get revitalized with some information coming out, like the delay in mom reporting him missing, according to her friend. 2 hours before she reported Summer missing, she received a phone call from Candace saying she was missing. And I believe that because Ronnie Lawson, the sheriff, got on about 6 months into the case and told one of his employees, why don't you tell those YouTubers to ask Candace why she waited hours to report Summer missing. And then, so that's concerning, as well as Grandis saying, no, we didn't do that when we got home. So not sure what's going on, what happened, what they don't know, but we're going to re-spark interest. We are going to take Summer's case under our arm, along with Sebastian, Jonathan, Hoang, and Michael. One moment, please, so I can say thank yous, and we'll move on. Thank you so much, Raymond, for gifting your Crime Time Buzz 6 Crime Time Buzz memberships. Please thank Raymond. Join us Saturdays. There's a members live earlier today you can go watch if you receive his kind gifts. And thank you, Raymond, for growing our group, our family, our memberships, and expanding our reunions. Please thank him and welcome in. And same to Peggy Cock. Thank you so much. You all are so kind and thoughtful. We have our reunions. They were today. If you want to go watch that video after this, and welcome in. And Peggy, thank you so much. I appreciate it. That is basically right now where we're going to go with Summer Wells. She has not gotten a lot of attention. We don't hear many updates, but now At Night is putting her face up with Sebastian on their banner on X and on some of the billboards. I believe billboards are going up for both of them, but they're on X and we're going to look at them. Summer has been missing quite a long time. June 15th, 2021. Let's bring Jonathan home. Let's bring Summer home, Sebastian, and let's locate Michael Vaughn. So let's get on to Sebastian before we get to Michael Vaughn. Another small town missing child. We're going to go right to X for Sebastian. Okay, can you see this? Okay, we are on X now. Thank you all for your kind memberships and donations. Thank you so much for your support. Let me go ahead and get into X. We're going to go through some of the updates, see if there's any. This is Deception Detective says this is getting weird now. Oh, okay. Let's see if there's anything from At Night, but what I do want to show you is look at their banner now. At Night Private Intelligence. America First. We vanished twice. Let's start with children first. United we stand. So Summer's there now. Look at this. Can you all see it? Make sure you can see that well enough. It says missing Sebastian Rogers and Summer Wells. $447,000 reward. Call Dog the Bounty Hunter. Now, I will have to find clarification on Summer being up there with the reward or what's going on with that, but so delighted to see her. Now, that is not at all what Summer looked like when she went missing. She was much thinner. Those cheeks weren't, filled out like that. She was much thinner, little darker circles under her eyes, and her hair was just growing out, almost like she had a little crew cut now instead of bald. But I am so glad to see Summer needs a voice. Summer needs a voice. Summer Moon, Utah Wells, and Sebastian Rogers, both missing from Tennessee. Which it happens, right? But what's unusual is the silence. Look at this one. Oh, this is the explanation. I want to see the flyer. Excuse me, guys. I went in the wrong place. Are you with me still? Okay, there's Summer and Sebastian. If seen, dial 911. I love it. It says revised reward disclaimer with clarification issued for the disappearance of Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. Contact 911 or authorities first. 53,000 K added. So we're going to have to look into all that of reward information. And both the billboards are going up. There's 8 of them, I believe, in Nashville. And like we talked about earlier, it's great for the public to see it, to realize that Now both these children are missing, but Sebastian's still missing. He didn't run away, because when they say, "Who took me?" they're going to realize that if they had just heard that first report and didn't know any better, they would think he was a runaway. So I think they're getting out a good message that people are driving by. You know, law enforcement drives by it. The general public drives by it. Officials drive by it. Politicians. Everyone. And they're aware, oh, he's not home yet? And that makes people start to look back into it, right? And realize he wasn't a runaway. He isn't a runaway. So we are going to keep going. Sorry, I'm looking to see some of your comments. Happy Easter to everyone. Yeah. Let's go, Lady Roses, if you don't mind, please use initials. But yes, it's terrible because that'll start now, right? Yes, it would be wonderful if Summer and Sebastian were all found. Absolutely. And people are arrested at the same time. Some people believe if you find one, you're going to find the other, but I just don't understand how that could go. The Cornbread Mafia. Thank you, Kathy Smith. Appreciate you. Raymond says, Jay, I joined their Facebook yesterday. Who's? The Hoangs? Okay, well, let's keep going. Let's see what's going on here. Okay. This says this was yesterday. Too real, too close, too bad. Sebastian Rogers, $447,000 reward. These are billboards that are going all up around Tennessee. There's over 250, I believe, up. Not eight are in Nashville. When you enter, when you exit, you can't miss them. Also heading to Horn Lake, to Mississippi. And then when you enter back into Tennessee, also heading to Memphis. They are everywhere. So everyone is going to know that Sebastian is not a runaway. And Sebastian has someone who knows, because these billboards are speaking to someone. So people will know that we need to find this young man. He didn't run away on his own. It says, missing Sebastian Rogers. This sign scares them. Too real, too close, too bad. Missing in America. Children's lives matter, don't they? America first, we vanished twice. Let's start with hashtag children first. United we stand. They mean vanishing twice. Vanished from their home and then their search. The visibility is amazing, and I'm so glad Sebastian or Summer is included. I really am. Detection. I was going to plan on watching this with you all. One thing that bothers me is this shirt. I think it's a slap in the face to many different things in many different contexts, in my opinion. Or just simply in poor taste, your first interview in months and months. Okay, this sign scares them. These are all the billboards that are going up and around. Missing Sebastian Rogers. He's so handsome. $447,000 reward. Look at this. Let's see this. This is amazing. Aw. It's so good to see Summer getting this too. Look at Night sharing Summer's story. Here is, I should have shared this with you. Also, hold on. This is now, when you are missing, when a child is missing, not when you are. I am too, Raymond. I'm just delighted, and we're gonna keep it going. I followed this case. It's hard. It got hard to follow, but We are going to get back in and get Summer's. We have to be her voice. She doesn't have a voice out there like Seth for Sebastian or Jonathan Hoang's family or Michael's mom family. Okay? So those of you who are not from the United States, and maybe you don't know this, because I've had someone else ask me before, how often does the Center for Missing and Exploited Children put out age enhanced photos? And it's 2 years missing, every 2 years then. So Summer went missing at 5. And this is Summer at 7. Now, to me, she looks this rendition, what do we call it? Why isn't it not coming to my mind? Someone help me out here. Summer's a very sad case, Raymond. Yes. Breaks my heart. Yes, you do not, Mima. And I have some things on that I want to read to you, and I will write it down, and we will cover that tomorrow. You do not. And we'll get into that. Yes, thank you. The age progression composite. Now, Summer on the left is when Summer was December, about to turn 5. Okay. And then she went missing at 5 and 4 months. Okay. So this is about 6 months old, this photo, and it looks very different than what Summer looks like when she went missing. Okay. We'll talk about the whole no body, no murder convictions with or without, I promise. I have it written down and I will cover it tomorrow. That is absolutely on our docket. But so this is the 2-year photo. So this would be Summer at 7. Yes, the boys were interviewed. Yes, they were. Okay, so this is Summer at 7. She looks a lot like her mama there, doesn't she? I think that looks a little bit older than a 7-year-old, but that's just me. I think that looks more like an 11-year-old, but 11-year-old. But look how pretty she is. This is Summer Wells. This is who we would be looking for. This is the photo, the composite, age progression. You think it looks about 12. Okay, so me too, 11 or 12, yeah. So that's Summer. We need to bring her home. She's not getting much coverage at all. Please don't mention other creators in the chat. My mods will have to start timing you out, you all, because it doesn't often turn out nice for them because other people put their 2 cents in. So I'm sorry, my mods are going to start timing out when they see a channel name without it just being initials. Thank you, my friends. So that's Summer's story. We are now talking about Sebastian. At Night is covering both children. Praise goodness. Okay. This was 2 days ago, talking about the preliminary injunction. The RICO was denied, the anti-SLAPP approved, and this is the information regarding that. And At Night going to One World and At Night acknowledged the court's decision regarding a preliminary injunction request tied to ongoing legal matters involving individuals alleged to have interfered with the search for Sebastian, age 16, who has now been missing for over a year. They are going to file a direct appeal in response and remain confident in the strength and integrity of their position. They understand that over 7,000 pages in exhibits and filings and evidentiary documentation across multiple jurisdictions raised the complexity of the case. They disagree respectfully with the outcome, but respect the court's decision and will ask to and understand the court was asked to evaluate a narrow legal issue within a far broader and rapidly evolving context. Alarmingly, the coordinated harassment efforts have expanded to volunteers, public commenters, private citizens, some of whom were targeted simply for sharing a flyer or speaking publicly about Sebastian's case. These intimidation tactics have only strengthened our resolve. Our protective and intelligence-based operations will continue without operation. The main thing that I want to share with you about Sebastian right now is what's been going on this week in the case. And what has been going on is that a lot. What has happened is there was a hearing for Vaughan Betty. There was what else? Oh my goodness, so much went on this week. Oh, the anti-SLAPP was approved, the RICO denied, or the injunction denied. Then CP, before the court hearing the night before with BHB on the 15th, he got on a channel and I played the audio for you, and it was vile, vulgar, and in my opinion, alleged. Please form your own. This is for entertainment purposes only, but it is my opinion based on his words. Showed who he is and how he is. And I'll leave it at that. And then I also played for you the father who got on in response and put the stepfather in his rightful place. Then I got on after speaking with Seth. Seth shared information with me about something that was going on with another creator, Julie S. I'm just going to say it. So if you missed that video, go hit that video from yesterday also. Seth had a message why he had chosen not to work with her. It's his very own opinions. He makes his choices. And I had indicated you all, about the petition. Now, she didn't want to take down the petition, even though Seth wanted it taken down, the father. But also, I forgot to mention to y'all his first interaction, which is why he really, in the beginning, decided not to work with her, is when she first came to YouTube. Remember when she said, never seen photos before Sebastian Rogers? And we all went in there. I streamed it live for y'all. We watched it. I wanted to support her. Well, Seth went in there as well. Now, you're a parent of a missing child, and you hear never seen before pictures. And it was very upsetting to him, and that it was clickbait, that it was not never seen before seen photos of Sebastian. It was of the security cameras and lights. And it was in a part 1 and a part 2. So that was his first reason, the initial reason he chose not to work with her. Okay? So that went on. It's just been a lot this week. So let's get our focus back on Sebastian. Now it's just such a blessing to see Summer out there, and a blessing to find out that Michael Joseph Vaughn, Monkey, from Fruitland, Idaho, sadly, who disappeared from his neighborhood July 27th, 2021. Someone is in jail. They have searched a cemetery. Shockingly, listen to this, a natural burial site. True story. I'm going to give you the information. Just like we had talked about in Sebastian's case, that was 17.17 miles away. Remember, Silvers went up there, but not to the burial site, but it was right around there. Well, they were searching based on the movements of the suspect, Brandon. So, story, mom is very ill. They need closure for mom. Mom needs answers. His mother, Brandy Neal Vaughn, is very sick. So let's go ahead and continue on. This is a small town as well. And that is why I'm ending this with this, because I want to show you what J.D. Huff has done. Almost Grady style. Amazing. And now we are, yes, almost 4 years down the road but not without arrest 2 years ago. It taken to the DA once, then again, a drive out to Montana, a press conference putting the faces out to the public of who they believe to be suspects, an excavation of a yard. Lots to dig in there. I've been to Fruitland. I know this case well. We are going to look at it. But what I will say is, being a small town like Hawkins County or whatever is not an excuse for a poor or a quiet or a investigation to go cold. Okay? Let us go ahead and cover Michael Vaughn. Fruitland, Idaho. Yes, Fruitland, Idaho. 5 years old, about to start kindergarten, just like Summer. They went missing the same summer. They look so much like each other. Let me get Michael's picture up here for you. I'm going to go to what I had written for Michael here. Okay, what I wanted to begin with for Michael for you. Fruitland, Idaho is another small town. I've been there. It's quaint. People are friendly. A lot of farmland. That's what we were out there doing, is looking to see if there were any way someone could get out of that neighborhood without going out that one way. And there were farm roads, and someone familiar with the area could have. So we were doing a lot of looking around like that for Michael and the area, getting some context. It's a small town, but I will tell you this. J.D. Huff said over and over again, even when he had nothing to report, he said, "We have not stopped. We are working day in and day out because we take offense when you take one of our own. It will not be tolerated. We will find you." It was his message repeatedly. Even when he did not have anything to report, that was his message. It was strong, and it was to the very individuals, just like the Billboards, but it was to the very individuals who he believed had taken Michael. Now, Michael, July 27th, 2021, a summer day, Mom was at work. Dad was home with Michael and his little sister. Older half-brother was in his bedroom. Half-sister came home from, I want to say, cheer camp. It was like the first day of cheer camp, going back, and went to take a nap before going out later. Dad, there's a little baby sister, Buggy, they call her. Tyler, Michael's father, Tyler was in the living room when Michael took Buggy to go change her diaper. Then he picked up the phone to call a pizza and order a pizza. When he came out to the living room, Michael wasn't there. He looked around for Michael around the house, outside, called Mom. They began to panic, and they called 911. Mom drove home from work. The search was on. Now, I have a source inside that area, and the streets were filled with people searching. A small community coming together, right? We saw it for Sebastian. We saw it for Summer. We see it for Jonathan Hoang. They come together. And sorry, I lost my train of thought looking at your messages. They couldn't find Michael. And they didn't know what had occurred to Michael. Michael did not get an Amber Alert because of the wording of the Amber Alert criteria. But they did not realize right away that Michael had been abducted. They were searching, thinking he was out playing, like he did. Neighbors had said he had come by to see if someone could play, saw him heading back towards his home, but he never made it there. And like I said, a police force that was found it a huge violation that someone would take, hurt, whatever, one of their own. So it has been an investigation. They searched. They did. Now, what we knew is they didn't see anything on footage at the time. Absolutely stunning, shocking to find out in November of 2022, yes, that they were excavating in a front yard and had made an arrest of someone renting the home named Sarah Wondra. That a tip had come in that was very reliable. Later on, we find out that that tip was from her husband, allegedly, Stacy Wondra, because he wanted to get a deal, because he was in prison for other charges. Okay, she's arrested, she's put in jail, and they dig the front yard. What we find out many years later is that Stacy Wondra, from jail, prison, jail, wherever he was on the phone with J.D. Huff and law enforcement, directing them to Michael's body where he knew it to be buried. This was in November. They sifted, they dug with excavators. They went through that entire backyard. This is in Idaho, Fruitland, Idaho, on the border of Oregon and Idaho. I actually stayed in Oregon when I was there. He wandered out of the yard, yes, went to look for friends to play with, and they never saw him again. Now, small town, real cute neighborhood. Yes, there's farmland that bumps up to it, but real cute. His body has not been found yet. So they dug there. They did say the dogs hit there, so they believe he was moved. And I'm going to give you the story of what they said happened just recently, and please buckle up. They believe he was moved because the dogs hit. They sifted through all the dirt, sent it out for DNA. They never shared with us what that result was. They also said that they were going to, that they had found evidence in the home. They had searched the home as well and had found evidence there. And that they were going to be searching the next door neighbor's home the next day, I believe. The next door neighbors, just so you know, was the first place I went when I landed in Fruitland, because we had been looking through Google Earth and looking up RSOs, and the next door neighbors to the Wondras are married RSOs, and they had their RV, you know, you can go back to the days, they had their RV open the steps down that day. So that's the first place we went. Not that I knocked on their door. We just went there, looked at the place, kind of got a feel for things. Then she showed me where Michael's house was from there. Point being, when I saw them excavating in Wondra's yard next door to them, I started shaking, because here I had been. If they had found him, I was standing right next to where he was. Right one house over. Oh, just the things we go through, right? It was so terrifying. But yet you feel you were so close, right? So they didn't know where Michael was. It was hard getting an exact timeline. Tyler was watching the baby. He didn't know the exact minutes. He couldn't. There was something with the, it became, we called it Pizzagate, because it was about the pizza. Where did you get it? Where was the receipt? Because people were suspect. Could it have been the pizza delivery person, right? So what happened is J.D. Huff, many press conferences, many press conferences. And J.D. Huff came out with a press conference. And I am going to show you a small town chief that if my child were missing, you know how we've heard that a few times lately, like we just did from TBI, that if he'd want the agents from Hawkins County on it if it was his child missing. Well, I can be honest with you, I wouldn't. Second of all, but I can tell you one thing, I wouldn't want Hawkins County on it, but what I will tell you is I certainly would want J.D. Huff and his team on it. This is a wonderful press conference. He reveals suspects, hadn't made contact with two of them, had one in jail, and then one was already in jail on unrelated charges. I was so impressed, Caroline Miller, with him. Really was. The way he never gave up, did he? He made his promise. He said he's going for it. He drove to Montana to find Brandon. So I'll give you the story. I will give you the most recent update as soon as we watch this presser. It's important, I think. Sorry, I clicked the wrong tab. I have so many open. I don't want that one. Just one moment. Thank you for bearing with me. And mods, thank you so much for taking over the chat while I'm doing this. Did I not open that? Hold on, I'm looking for it. My apologies. I thought I had it open. Oh, it is open. Ooh, really? Something's on. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Okay, that's not the one I want you to see, but it's about that one. So hold on one second. Sorry, friends. I want you to get to see the whole press conference, not clips of it, because it is fabulous. And I did pull it up. So just bear with me a second. And we are going to continue on. You're going to know Michael's case. I will show you pictures and footage from there. And we will follow. And then we are going to pick up Summer and carry her along with us again. Darn it, why don't I have this? It was WJH. Let me see where it is. Let me see if that's the one. I apologize, y'all. I thought I had it pulled up. I thought I did, but maybe not. Okay, bear with me. I'm just going to have to Google it real quick. Or not Google it. Search it up. I'm looking for one that's not just a clip for the news article. So hold on one second. It's a full, I want the full thing. Of course I can't. No, that's not it. One moment. I am sorry. I had it pulled up. I must have closed it out. So forgive me for 1 second. Oh my goodness. Why can't I? Darn it, darn it, darn it. Okay. Maybe this is the whole thing. Sorry, y'all. I'm getting there. Okay, it is. Okay. No, I just have to find out which one I got. Yeah, okay. Make sure you've got it. There we go. There. Okay. This is from December 1st, 2022, or maybe November 23rd with an update on December 1st, but it is the press conference for Michael Vaughn you will see, make sure you got it, you will see CM Chris McDonough in it. And this is the press conference after they excavated the yard. And then after we watch this, I want you to watch his style, his force. Small town. Okay, so they do know, they investigate. Amazing. I'm just impressed. And they really care that Brandy's sick. And I believe, in my opinion, that expedited them going out to Montana to talk to Brandon. That's my opinion. Because they care. He is one of their own. Here we go. I'll close myself and mute. Press conference for Michael Vaughn. We will find Michael and Summer and Jonathan and Sebastian and the others.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I just wanted to start out by saying thank you to our media partners. Thanks for being here. Thank you for the continued coverage of the Michael Vaughn case. I also wanted to begin by just giving my sincere thanks to all the law enforcement agencies, local businesses, and members of the public who helped us over the course of the last year and a half of this intense investigation. More recently, during the last 3 weeks, we could not have completed the work necessary without the selfless help of others. The community support has been absolutely incredible. As you know, from the time Michael went missing, this has been an all hands on deck investigation, and it remains very active and an ongoing investigation. You can't take one of our most precious citizens from us and ever expect us to stop. During the course of this investigation to date, we received credible information that the remains of Michael Vaughn could be found in the backyard at 1102 Red Wing Street in Fruitland. As a result, the Fruitland Police Department obtained a search warrant for the residence along with the front and backyards. That search warrant was served on November 11th. It was a Friday. We served that late in the evening. Upon entry, officers encountered Sarah Wandra, one of the known occupants of the home, and Sarah was subsequently arrested based on probable cause that she had knowledge of Michael's death and failed to report that death to law enforcement. The following day, the Fruitland Police Department, joined by the Idaho State Police, the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue, the Fruitland Fire Department, and the Fruitland Public Works Department, began a very methodical excavation of the backyard of the Wanderer's home. During that excavation process, the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue, Mountain States detection dogs deployed multiple certified human remains detection dogs on the property, all of them alerting to the presence of human remains. Ground penetrating radar was also used and deployed, detecting anomalies in the backyard. We completed the excavation of the entire backyard and removed over 250 yards of, it was a Friday. We served that department, obtained a search warrant for the residence along with the front and backyards. That search warrant was served on November 11th. It was a Friday. We served that late in the evening. Upon entry, officers encountered Sarah Wandra, one of the known occupants of the home, and Sarah was subsequently arrested based on probable cause that she had knowledge of Michael's death and failed to report that death to law enforcement. The following day, the Fruitland Police Department, joined by the Idaho State Police, the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue, the Fruitland Fire Department, and the Fruitland Public Works Department, began a very methodical excavation of the backyard of the Wanderer's home. During that excavation process, the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue, Mountain States detection dogs deployed multiple certified human remains detection dogs on the property, all of them alerting to the presence of human remains. Ground penetrating radar was also used and deployed, detecting anomalies in the backyard. We completed the excavation of the entire backyard and removed over 250 yards of dirt. Prior to backfilling the yard, the dirt was meticulously sifted for any potential human remains. We did not find Michael's remains.
For commentary and fair use, I'm going to pause it for a second. And what I want to point out is JD is giving great detail right now. But I want you to, if you didn't follow this case, or if you did, just to remember back when he was investigating, he was very tight-lipped and would not answer questions or provide information about the investigation. He would not. I'm sorry, I can't answer that. I can't answer that. Go on. Do you have another question? He'd still always talked about Michael. He still had press conferences. He still put out press releases on his Facebook pages. He still spoke. But he said, I can't talk about the investigation. But he made it very clear. We are a tight community. Many of us here on my team grew up here. Our kids run these neighborhoods. You know, we're not allowing this. And you heard him start the press conference with that. Just gives a small town a lot of peace. That is what Hendersonville has been asking for, because they don't feel safe and protected. Fruitland did. JD talked to them, let them know that he's going to get this person, that no one will get hurt on my watch. And that's what Hendersonville is wanting to hear. And I'm not criticizing, I'm saying you need to do it. They don't know whether they have a perpetrator, a stranger, a pervert, whatever it is, running around, coming into town, taking Sebastian. Do they need to lock their doors because this person's going to try again? He needs to speak up. It's called serve and protect. And there's a primary. He needs to, December, I believe, is when they file their registration for the primary, their intent. The primary is in May. Now you tell me this, and I'm just going to say it, and I'm not trying to be rude. You always make your own opinion. If you were living in a town where a child disappeared, and you listen to JD Huff, the way he handles himself, and you won't take one of ours, and blah blah blah, and go back and watch other ones where he doesn't have a lot to say, but he says a lot about his community and Michael. Okay? Or you look at Hendersonville, where they're saying nothing and locals are wanting to hear something because they've heard nothing. Where would you want to stand? Where would you want to live? The person who shows they serve and protect just doesn't run and take the position. They communicate with the constituents, because that's who's important. It's not just during election time. Let's continue. This is about Michael Vaughn, Monkey. Mother's very ill right now. Disappeared right off of his neighborhood, Fruitland, Idaho, July 27th, 2021. Literally 1 month and 12 days after summer, the same summer, both kids getting ready to start kinder. I often worry Summer, because she was starting kinder and going to be around mandatory reporters, maybe why allegedly she went missing. We are on Monkey Vaughn. This is JD Huff doing a presser back from when they excavated the yard and they're about to reveal the suspects. And it's important to catch people up with this presser, because then I'm going to talk about the suspect too, one of whom's in jail. Well, two of whom are in jail, but one's in jail related.
Although the remains of Michael Vaughn were not recovered, we strongly believe, based on evidence, that Michael was abducted and is deceased, and that his remains were buried and later moved from the property. As of today, the whereabouts of his remains are unknown. However, the investigation is active, fluid, and ongoing. Once the excavation was complete, we conducted a thorough search of the Wanderer's residence. The search was productive and additional investigative evidence was recovered and is currently being processed. Evidence suggests that there are the following individuals who are currently in custody are involved in the abduction of Michael Vaughn. This is Sarah Wandra, 35 years old. Sarah lives at 1102 Red Wing Street in Fruitland and was living there at the time of Michael's disappearance. We believe that Sarah has firsthand knowledge and is involved in Michael's abduction. Sarah Wandra is currently being held at the Puit County Jail for failing to report a death to law enforcement. This is Sarah's husband, Stacy Wandra, 30 years old, a male. Stacy was also living at 1102 Red Wing Street in Fruitland and was living there at the time of Michael's disappearance. We believe that Stacy has firsthand knowledge and is involved in the abduction of Michael Vaughn. Stacy's currently being held in the Washington County Jail on unrelated charges. Now, the next individuals I'm going to introduce you to, let's go at the bottom there. This is Brandon Shirtliff, 30 years old, of Kuna, Idaho. Brandon was living with Sarah and Stacy Wandra at 1102 Red Wing Street at the time of Michael's disappearance.
Brandon is the one in jail right now. Brandon is the one in jail, and I will give you all the details, but he is in jail, in custody, after a warrant because he tried to run.
And we believe Brandon has firsthand knowledge of Michael's abduction. Brandon is currently believed to be in North Dakota. Adrian Lucian, 32-year-old male out of Toledo, Ohio. Adrian was staying with Sarah and Stacy Wandra at 1102 Red Wing Street at the time of Michael's disappearance. And we believe that Adrian has firsthand knowledge of Michael's abduction. Adrian's currently believed to be in Toledo, but floats between Ohio and California. I strongly encourage Shirtliff and Lucien to contact the Fruitland Police Department detectives as the window of time for talking and cooperation is coming to a close. This remains an active and ongoing investigation, with conversations taking place with the Puit County Prosecutor's Office about Michael's case and those individuals involved. We also believe that there are others associated with the Wandras, Shirtliff, and Lucien, who may have knowledge of Michael's abduction, and I would strongly encourage them to come forward and speak with my detectives. When we finally reach the conclusion of this investigation, and I can assure you that we will, all of those who have knowledge of Michael's disappearance and have failed to report or hindered our investigation will be pursued. There's a moment in time to do the right thing and bring your information forward and cooperate. And that moment in time is now. To date, the Fruitland Police Department has received over 1,500 tips and leads, and we received many new leads since this phase of the investigation has began. We continue to ask our community for support and patience as we continue to aggressively work this case. We also ask that the Vaughn family's privacy continue to be respected, and we'll continue to post updates as information can be shared. Tips can be sent to findmichael@fruitland.org or to Crime Stoppers at 343cops.com or the Fruitland Police Department at 208-452-3110. Tipsters can remain anonymous. So before I open it up for questions, I just want to make it clear that this is a very active and ongoing investigation. It's super important that we maintain the integrity of this investigation. So I'd ask you that you'd please tailor your questions accordingly. With that, I'll stand for a few questions.
Okay, I like this style. So he did this press conference and revealed the images of the Wondras. Stacy Wondra being arrested on probable cause. Now understand that. Oh, thank you, Dom. Hello, everyone. Being arrested on probable cause, the lowest proof they arrested her with. Probable cause of knowing of a death and not reporting it. The lowest proof, probable cause, is how they arrested her. It can be done. And he said, one thing I just love, he says, I can assure you, there will be a conclusion. And anyone who has failed to report or hindered our investigation, I promise you, we will pursue them. There's no silence. This is my county, this is my area, this is my rules. This is what's going to happen. So watch out. Okay? So, just to give you a little update, Brandon is in jail. I'm going to tell you a little bit of what I heard. You know, it's what everyone's heard by now from my source, but I also know a little bit about where they were searching. Let me go ahead and pull this up for you. We have movement in Michael Vaughn's case. We have someone in jail. Now, just to let you know, Sarah Wondra, the lady who was arrested for this. We do need this for Sebastian, I know, Diane. The lady who was arrested for this, yes, that's Chris McDonald behind him. She was released to where they could come back and charge her again if they needed to. But for a while, they were questioning her mental competency, etc. She ended up, the charges being dropped by the DA, but where they could come back in and charge her again, which has not happened. Her husband, Stacy Wondra, he's been in jail a lot for gun charges, federal gun charges, and different things unrelated to Michael. Now Brandon Shirtliff, they went to March 28th. Let me read it to you. 2 officers from Fruitland, I believe. Let me read it to you. Very impressive. Went to Montana, did a little road trip, and they paid a little visit. This is from a Facebook post that said, Michael Vaughn update. This was, I don't know when it was. When was this sent to me? 2 days ago, so maybe 3 days ago. Around March 28th, 2025, 2 Fruitland detectives and the state's prosecutor flew to Montana to see Brandon Shirtliff. He was the 3rd one they put up. They flew to Montana to see Brandon Shirtliff to offer him a plea deal to remove the death penalty off the table in exchange of him telling them where Monkey's body is. They gave Brandon 48 hours, but Brandon took off, and now there is a warrant for his arrest. He's in jail now. Okay? Stacy and Sarah Wondra are currently in jail, and we've seen Stacy's confession, which was heartbreaking to hear. I will also share with you, as we deep dive this case and wait for justice, conversations between Brandy and Stacy, who is the husband, by the way. Stacy's the husband, the man, which was heartbreaking to hear. Absolutely heartbreaking. So, Stacy and Sarah Wondra are currently in jail, and we've all seen Stacy's confession, and if you haven't, you will be seeing it, which was heartbreaking to hear. It has been said that detectives believe, but it has been said by detectives, please buckle up right now. Here's your trigger warning. It has been said by detectives that they believe Brandon, excuse me, let me get a drink of water. That Brandon duct taped Michael and put him in a garbage bag and suffocated him, which would mean Michael was alive when he was put in that garbage bag and duct taped. Eerily like J.J. Vallow. Remember? Lori Vallow, monster cult mom, Doomsday's mom. Okay. They believe Michael was then left at Brandon's home in Kuna, Idaho. And I have a map for you so you can see where Kuna is versus Fruitland. They believe Michael was left then at Brandon's home in Kuna overnight in the duffel bag. So they put him in a duffel bag then. And that's in quotes. And then collected the next day, where they then originally buried Michael in the Wandra backyard. Okay, and now that's interesting to me because I want to talk to you about that, how that would have went down. Okay, they believe Brandon knows where Michael's remains have been moved to. Please keep Brandy, Monkey Mama, in your prayers. She's very ill. This baby boy needs to come home. He does, my friends. The last time Brandy came in she asked to come on to my panel. This was before I had just started my channel, had to take my break and take care of Mom before I came back, right? And Brandy came on. She didn't come on with her face. She just, her voice on the panel. And we were talking and, she was explaining the feelings she has. Excuse me, let me stop the screen. The feelings she has about how long it's been, and she knew, days, how many hours, how many minutes. But the one thing she said that just I will never forget is she said, Jay, I don't even know what size my little boy's foot is. Think about that. And we were about a year and a half in, I would say. Maybe a year. I don't even know the size my little boy's foot is. And I will tell you this. I think we cried together that night. I think I cried right on the panel because that just took the wind out. G-Ma, if you're still in here, you were there. Okay? And she did say, Jay, promise me you'll never stop raising awareness and covering Michael's case. So I came back, and there really wasn't much to cover on Michael. But in the midst of getting so involved, I kind of was a little remiss and didn't do justice for Michael in coverage. So we've covered, this is about the third or fourth time we've covered Michael. I actually had received an email from someone, I think it was in January, asking if I would start, Brandy would like me to start covering Michael again. And we certainly are. And we are going to Michael, Summer, Sebastian, Jonathan, and anyone else who comes along. Let's just pick him up and carry him through and raise awareness. Michael, Vaughn, they're trying to locate his remains. So let me tell you where they ended up. And I want to show you a map where Kuna is in Idaho and Fruitland. For those of you not familiar, Fruitland's right on the border of Oregon and Idaho. I like to show you guys kind of the context, and I hope you enjoy that because I think it's important to be able to. Oh, did I not do Kuna? Well, Kuna to Idaho, hold on. I'm going to give you something. I thought I did it. Kuna to Idaho was, let me just do it. Check this right here. Kuna to Idaho was, Kuna to Fruitland Oh, I didn't look that one up. Okay, so let me give you a little thing. They're talking about Kuna at Brandon's house. And where they went next was where they just searched recently is a place in Leodore, Idaho. Okay, can you see that? Leodore, Idaho, where they were recently searching for Michael, is, as you can see from the map, let me enlarge it for you a little bit. 5:08 to about 5:57, 5 hours and 8 minutes to about 5 hours and 57 minutes, depending on the way. But Fruitland is southwest of Leodore. So if you're going to kidnap a child here and go to Kuna, which I'll have to get you that map, and then somehow they ended up in Leodore. They took him back to Fruitland, buried him in Fruitland, and now they're searching Leodore. So from Fruitland, they believe he was kidnapped, taken to Kuna. The next day brought back to Fruitland, buried at 1102 Red Wing. Then something in recent days has taken them northeast of Fruitland to Leodore, Idaho. And I'm going to tell you why. Why and what. 1 second, let me do one more thing to you, show you. So I want you to know kind of the area. Just so, because I thought I saved this one for you too. I think it's about 49 minutes. So let me make sure you have this. Okay, I'm going to enlarge this for you so you can see the situation. Okay. Here is Fruitland. July 27th. Michael is taken from Fruitland, his neighborhood. Well, Dad is changing the baby's diaper and ordering a pizza. Michael goes out looking for someone to play with. Said to be not uncommon for him. One of the neighbors saw him, said that they were leaving for the store. Michael started walking back, but they did not watch him the whole way. So, they didn't see him arrive at his home, just started heading in that direction. So kidnapped between around 6:40 p.m. and 7-ish from Fruitland, from people who live a 3-minute walk, if that, from Michael's home. 1%. We're talking about the 1% stranger, my friends. Because so far what we've been told, there's no connection. They have no knowledge of Michael, right? It's a stranger, my friends, is what these guys are. They just lived in the neighborhood and opportunity. This Michael Vaughn is that 1%, and he did not get an Amber Alert. Okay, so they kidnapped him July 27th, 2021, between 6:40 and 7 p.m. They take him to Kuna. I don't know if what they say occurred. So it's 45 minutes, under an hour to get to Kuna, right? I don't know if they went right to Kuna. I don't know if the duct taping and all of that occurred in Kuna or Fruitland. But they went to Kuna. Brandon stayed in Kuna. And they say that Brandon duct taped Michael, put him in a garbage bag to asphyxiate him, just like Evelyn Boswell, J.J. Vallow. And then he was left in a duffel bag there in Kuna. He was left there. They came back the next day. So I'm assuming they went back to Fruitland, because remember they said when they arrived in the neighborhood, people were searching and they had to ask, what's going on? Okay. Now, the first night law enforcement went there, and I'm going to give you a fun fact that I learned from my source. I learned a lot of things from neighbors and stuff while I was out there that I'll share with you. But I think they took him home first, and I'm going to tell you why. My local source, when they were excavating, she called me, and she had heard. She said, remember the house we looked at immediately first? We stopped at. And I said, yes. She said, apparently that first night when they were walking around, it was Fruitland Police. The next day out came Idaho State Police doing rerounds. And I can tell you a lot about how it was searched. I mean, I'm not firsthand like Brandy and them, but I can tell you what I learned. But we'll stick focused real quick. So they went to the neighbors next door to 1102 Red Wing because they're both RSOs. And the dogs, they knocked. The dogs ran next door to 1102 Red Wing, followed a scent there to the front door. Law enforcement went over there, knocked, there was no answer. And they moved on. Right? Now, I don't know when they knocked on that door again and followed through. I have no idea, but I believe that Michael was there and they were there. Because they knocked on that door. The dogs went there. So I believe they took him. They hid in the house with him. They didn't answer the door and beat it to Kuna, where they left him. Brandon, I don't know if Brandon, where he duct taped him, where he did whatever. But they believe then they drove back to Kuna, got him, took him to Fruitland, and buried him in the backyard at 1102 Red Wing. Now, here is my question. And this is something we had discussed in my team, my groups, that we were all working on this case. Jima, if you're in here, you're one of them. Help me out if we go over this. If you are searching, they were all over, y'all. And I talked to people. It wasn't just the first day. Then they were back in there. Yes, Brandon's been arrested. I'm just about to get to it. And they are searching everywhere for him. I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. So how did they, that next day, dig a hole in a backyard in a neighborhood moments away to where when they were excavating, I remember Brandy saying they could hear it from the house. How would you dig a hole and not have anyone notice when there's a missing child in that very small neighborhood? Hi, YouTuber. Hi, Irene. Hi, Diana. Hi, Blue Eyes. So that's my only thing. Wouldn't that have, like, was it pre-dug? Because how would you do that when you have dogs out, you have neighbors out for a long time, like days, and Idaho State Police then came in and did a second round with questionnaires and door knocking and things like that of people Fruitland had already talked to that they revisited. People who had driven through in their cars, things like that. So how in the world would you be, in all the farmland they had to search, so how would you be digging a hole? And if you're digging at night, oh, I see, all I need is Jesus. Hey, you said it. If you're doing it at night, you're using a light, right? Probably. Wouldn't you be? Maybe not. I don't know. Weird. Yes, Crochet. I don't know. We're going to hear how they did it, right? Because remember they said that Brandon, we're going to listen to Brandon's ridiculousness, but we will listen to it. And some other great things coming up that have been analyzed about Brandon's interviews. So anyway, to Fruitland, they bury Michael allegedly in the backyard at 1102 Red Wing. RSO's living next door. They excavate in November, which is when we're all shocked because it is a 1% stranger abduction. It's not anything else. I mean, it's scary, a stranger. And what was even scarier is where Michael's home is. The police station is just moments away, so someone was very brazen. That concerned us. And also the interstates right to Oregon and out of there were right down the street. The creepiest thing we found was a tunnel leading out of his neighborhood under the road to an abandoned factory. But anyway, high-sped teacher, bury him in Fruitland. November, they're excavating for him, and he's gone. He's moved. Okay, they have their suspects. They show us. We see the press conference. Now we find out March 28th. Oh, and after that press conference, they made contact with both guys, Adrian and Brandon. And just remember, Sarah, the mom, first night, arrested on probable cause that she knew of a death and failed to report it. Probable cause being the lowest proof. And they picked her up and put her in jail. On probable cause that she knew of a death and didn't report it. Think about that. If more officers would do that. Okay? We'd have more parents thinking twice. Because a lot of them are such cowards. They'll hurt a child, y'all. But when it comes to their discomfort, being behind bars, they'll cry like babies. If we put more of them behind bars and said, you're the last person who saw this child, you're going to sit here, or we think you know something, you're going to sit here until we bring them home. Want to help us? Great. You can get out. We'll make a deal. Not, you're staying until we find this child. We got to be tougher. We have to do better. And I'm not a legal person. I know you can't do certain things like that in the law, but we have to do something. They were very odd couple. Very odd couple. And imagine the person they were renting from. Was it her family? Or was it someone else? But anyway, we're going to locate him because they are getting close. So let me read to you now where they went. Law enforcement went recently. I'm going to open the map for you. So under an hour between Kuna and Fruitland. One way in, one way out of the neighborhood if you don't know the neighborhood. If you know the neighborhood, you can go through farmland streets and stuff. I can show you. But for right now, under an hour, they got to Kuna. Brandon, apparently, whether he did it at their home, and then they took him out in a duffel bag to Kuna or not. But then they believe they went back to Fruitland, went back to Kuna, picked up Michael, brought him to Fruitland, buried him in that yard. I think the whole well, no, because couldn't have been planned, right? Because, or I don't know. We will have a lot to find out, right? Her family home. Thank you, YouTuber. Y'all are awesome. So let me share with you here the next map. And I've got the wrong one. Hold up. I'm going to pull this up for you. Okay. So next, they go. You have the wrong one. Sorry. They go to Montana last month. And they go to Montana last month. They give Brandon Shirtliff, and I'm going to show you Brandon a little bit in action. And they give him 48 hours to take a plea deal, where they will take the death penalty off the table if he shows them where Michael Vaughn's remains are within 48 hours. Now, I believe that expeditiousness was because you don't hurt someone in one of our own, and his mommy's going to be very sick, right? She's sick. They know that. So they, in my opinion, that's how much he cares. They went out to Montana and gave someone 48 hours. They want closure for this mother. So Where they've went recently, after Montana, where they've been is Leodore, Idaho, which is, as you can see, northeast from Fruitland. Fruitland being on the Oregon border. Here's Oregon. Look how close Fruitland is to it. So that was scary, right? They could have hopped on and had him out of state in seconds. Okay. 5 hours at the lightest, 5 hours, 10 minutes, almost 6 hours if you take I-84. So that's quite a ways, right? But they ended up there. And let me read it to you. And we have so many kids to discuss, and I so appreciate you all being here for them all. Thank you. Okay. Here. So after they gave him 48 hours, he ran. They put out a warrant for his arrest, okay? And we know they think he is the one who duct taped Michael, put him in a garbage bag, and suffocated him. And they left him at Brandon's home in a duffel bag overnight, and then collected him the next day. And they originally buried him in the Wander backyard. They do believe Brandon knows where the remains are. So they went to, based on apparently Brandon's movements, it says in Facebook, Mountain View Green Cemetery is where they went to search. And this is recent. Going off movements pertaining to Brandon Shirtliff. Okay. Mountain View Green Cemetery. They went to search, going off movements pertaining to Brandon Shirtliff. I don't know if it was probably his phone pinging. I don't think a police department as small as Fruitland. See, small. Small doesn't mean weak. Small doesn't mean careless. Small doesn't have to mean dirty. Sadly, sometimes it does, but let's watch JD. I don't think a police department as small as Fruitland would waste resources searching a cemetery, so they must have had a very good reason to go there. That cemetery is all the way over in Leodore, Idaho. 5 to 6 hours away. So if he was in 1102 Red Wing, and that's where they got him from, let's assuming he's been only moved once, and they removed him from 1102 Red Wing and drove 5 to 6 hours to Leodore to the Green, what did they say it was called? The Green Mountain View Green Cemetery. And it's interesting that a green cemetery is coming up again, because we discussed a green cemetery in the Sebastian Rogers case when Janine Chrissy said she thought he might be 17.17 miles from Hendersonville, and that was a location of, or was it 7? That was a location of a natural green burial site. And what those are is where you don't need you're giving your body back to the earth. You don't have a casket or anything like that. And that is where they were looking for Michael Vaughn. Let me share the place with you. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate each and every one of you. Okay, a green cemetery is you become one with the earth again. For instance, it says, this is where I want to show you. The Chamber of Commerce. Are you with me now? It, for instance, says Mountain View Green Cemetery. And someone wrote, a very peaceful place, a beautiful way to give your body back to the earth naturally. So like we studied before in Sebastian's, and let me go ahead and pull it up for you. green burials are without caskets. They are biodegradable. I'm going to pull something up. Okay, let me share this with you. This is the kind of what it means. Right here, a green cemetery plot. Let me share it with you, and then we're going to get off of here in a second. But I want to share with you, they were looking at a green cemetery plot. So meaning you don't need a casket. If someone snuck in there, it would be a great place to hide a body. Even if you're not going in a legal way, you could go in there in the deep of night in the dark and bury a body with a body, in my opinion. So what does it mean if your grave is green? What it means is the deceased is buried with minimal environmental impact. The burial should help in the conservation of natural resources and help reduce carbon emissions. The ultimate green grave is one that is in a conservation burial site, where the aim is to restore and preserve that habitat, encouraging new habitation growth and restoring ecosystems for native wildlife. There are some 220 natural burial cemeteries in the U.S. Only a few are designated conservation ground burial sites. How do you get a green burial? You need to select a suitable green burial cemetery and make arrangements. I want to see you has to sign a... Oh, alternatively, many green burial cemeteries facilitate the burial of the deceased, as it is such a natural and simple process. This can allow the family to have full involvement in the process in the context of what we refer to as family-directed funeral. The family would transport the deceased to the green burial site using a biodegradable coffin, and sometimes it's like, I'll show them to you. They're not actual what you're thinking of coffins. And a simple graveside burial can be conducted. I want to show you. I want the images. Hold on. Let me get you some images here. Okay, that's so you know where they're looking, because this is something that has come up in Sebastian's also. So let me maneuver through here better for you. Okay. So for instance, like this came up, as we know, in Sebastian's too, because of that 17.7 miles. So see here, flowers, and it's like a biodegradable sheet fabric. In here is in flower beds. Okay. I guess if people wanted to do biodegradable, they could in their own yards, right? I mean, if they want to dig a hole and not worry about a casket and do this, yes, they could. Look at this. Let me go to images here. Hold on. Let me get you some images. Okay, here's a good image for you. You see that? No, let me get you where I am. There you go. That is a green burial. There's nothing here. There's flowers in a shroud. They'll lower them into the ground, and it will all naturally disintegrate into the ground, body and all. And what I was saying is, if someone nefarious wanted to go into one of those, you could, I don't know to the level of what they check. Really, but that's where he is in jail now. He has been arrested. He has been arrested and he is in jail. I'm talking about Brandon. His steps are what took them, his movements are what took them to Leodore, Idaho, 5 to 6 hours away to search. And may they find him. Well, he did not. He certainly did not make his 48 hours to get the plea bargain. And guess what? This is Idaho again. So just like Chad Daybell, just like Brian Koberger, if he's convicted, Chad Daybell is already going to be facing the firing squad because he's on death row. That's their option if they can't find the chemical or the cocktail. If Brandon or whoever did this is found guilty, they will go in front of and get the death penalty. They will go in front of the firing squad. So they gave him 48 hours to take it off the table. And he ran. So I don't know if he'll be getting any more plea bargains or if they want to find him, if they will talk to him now that he's in custody. I don't know. But I'm so glad to see one of our cases have an arrest. One of the children. Hopefully we will find, and we'll start finding more of them. Right? So Brandon Shirtliff is in custody regarding the disappearance of Monkey Michael Joseph Vaughn from Fruitland, Idaho. He is not the first person to go be arrested for this. Sarah Wanda was arrested on probable cause for having knowledge of a death and not reporting it. Yeah, I've wondered. I wonder what the motive was. Has anyone heard a motive from this guy? You know, back in December 1st, they said Brandon Shirtliff of Kuna, Idaho is believed to be in North Carolina. And they did go out there. And I will cover it all with you, for you. We will deep dive while we're waiting to hear. And I'm going to show you Brandon real quick before we sign off. I'm wondering what the motive would be. Because if it was an opportunity and they just saw him out playing, looking for someone to play with, right? Why would they, what was their motive? Were they high? Were they... Yeah, they said they didn't have footage. I did count, and I have pictures of the amount of cameras there. They said they didn't have footage, but they may have. He was very tight-lipped, and I respect that because he still kept his name going. He didn't pretend it wasn't happening. Okay. What was I? Oh, I was going to share with you, Brandon, real quick before we sign off. Thanks all for spending so much time with me. We're going to spend time together on Easter because I know many of you don't have somewhere to be or someone to be with. We spent Christmas Eve and Christmas together, and we are going to spend our Easter together. After I get done with or before, I'm not sure our timing yet, but I will let you all know. Look for my community post. Let's see, where did I see Brandon here? I want you to see him. Okay, hold on. Let me Google him. Let me look it up real quick. I don't know where all my stuff is that I had pulled up. It's so funny. Okay. No. This is my last one. No. Okay, let me just get on YouTube and pull it up. Hard to believe it's the 19th of April. 20th is tomorrow. We're going almost to the end of April. Hard to believe. Okay, we are going to Brandon. He's done some interviews. I think it was JLR who first had him. And I don't want to watch like a whole 56. Oh, here's one. Okay. Maybe credit to JLR. Sorry, y'all. Okay, this is the gem that's in custody. I do want to go ahead and change my banner. This is credit to JLR. He's good at getting these interviews. We know that. And he got this interview with Brandon. He as well went out to Fruitland. All credit to JLR. And if someone wouldn't mind dropping the channel link mods to JLR's channel, please. Or don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'll do it in, please don't. Go ahead and do it I'll do it in my description. Okay. Let me go ahead and put this up. Can you all hear me? Because it's telling me I'm blocked. My sound's blocked. Can you all hear me? Oh, deviled eggs, deviled eggs. Yum, yum. Okay, let's go ahead and watch him. I thought I had put the banner up. I'm sorry. There we go. Please don't mention any creators in the chat, my friends. Use initials. Thank you so much. We are going to be, Jay, are we watching America's Most Wanted together as a family Monday, April 21st? Is that when they're airing it? You better believe we are. I will be here. I will be here, my friends. We will watch it together as a family. One big happy group. We love to collaborate. We stay out of the drama. Y'all are really good at making connections and thinking outside of the box, by the way. Give me so many things to think about. Okay, here is Brandon Shirtliff. Credit to JLR Investigates. This is from November 25th, 2022.
A lot. He shares a lot. I'm going to share the entire video right now, unedited, uncut, full interview that I had with him, and then we will discuss afterward. You need to watch this. He shares vital information about the Michael Vaughn case. Check it out. Okay, now thank you for talking to me. Thank you. I respect that, considering that I put a video out on you sharing what's going on. But as you know, I never said you were a suspect. I just said that you were there in the mix. So this is very important because a lot of people are following the Michael Vaughn case, and people just want answers. People want Michael found. They want insight on the Wanderers. They want to know everything. So, can you just explain what's going on here?
What's that?
Can you explain what's going on? Like what happened? What went down? What's up?
Yeah, the people that I used to stay with sometimes on the weekend and drive taxi for or whatever, they're involved in some big shit about. They're saying they know more about the Michael Vaughn case and everything like that. And I heard that they're saying that they actually killed him themselves.
Now, who said that?
I think the detectives told me that that's what Stacy and Sarah said themselves, is that they did it or they were involved in it or they know who did.
Interesting. Do you know any names or other these people? Who are they?
One of the people that went to their house before was Tanner Butler. I just looked at my Facebook page now, and his name's Tanner Butler. He was staying there with me and Stacy and Sarah at the time. Like all four of us were roommates.
Yeah. So, yeah, go ahead.
And then I guess the whole thing on how this started was the fact that Sarah kind of threatened him or told him, get out of my house and don't come here no more because you were drinking. And I don't want you to be a bad influence on my poor little husband, Stacy, blah, blah, blah.
So yeah. And that.
I just want to point out that this is the person in jail that they believe duct taped Michael Vaughn put him in a garbage bag, asphyxiated him, put him in a duffel bag, left him at his home in Kuna, and later the next day came and got him and buried him in the yard, allegedly. He's drinking a beer, he's shirtless, and this is the person that they believe actually did this crime. It's interesting when you look back at how someone can talk about something before they're accused, and shocking sometimes how they spin their tales, right?
That was the incident earlier this year, April, around the beginning of April, right? They got arrested.
Correct.
Who got arrested?
Sarah did. Sarah Wandra. And then Stacy. Okay, so Stacy got arrested first.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, Sarah got arrested not long after. And that was all over guns. It was all over a .17 caliber, some kind of a little gun they had.
Yeah, I saw the reports, and I saw that I read the indictment of Stacy, and he was trying to sell a gun. I think it's the gun you just described, to a gun shop out in New Plymouth.
Yeah, yes, sir.
So, but you're saying Sarah got in a fight with this Tanner guy around the same time in her house.
Right after he went to give that gun to somebody else, then that is when he went and tried to sell the gun to that gunsmith guy. And then right after that, Sarah was arrested for threatening that other roommate kid with a Glock or a gun or some shit that they weren't even supposed to have.
So it was all over Tanner drinking in the house.
Yes.
It's interesting that you say that, because I've observed posts from Sarah, that she would make in her taxi group. She had a group called Faith Taxi, right? And she would make posts saying, I am not going to pick up anyone and deliver them to buy drugs or alcohol. I forbid that. I don't do drugs and alcohol. I don't want to be around drugs and alcohol. Something in that sense.
Yes, sir.
So, maybe, she's just didn't want alcohol in the house. How long was Tanner staying there for?
He was staying there for I'd say we had a relationship for 2 or 3 months off and on, where he'd just kind of come in, and then they gave him a taxi ride one day, and then they said that he could come kind of stay with them at nighttime a little bit so he could get a job in the day. And they're just trying to help him, give him a place to stay at night so he could work in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, get back on his feet, and then he's going to go back to his parents or whatever.
Interesting. So how long were you there at the house for?
I probably knew him for 2 years in total, and I probably stayed with them off and on for a year, because I went out and drove taxis at their little Faith Taxi business.
Yeah.
So I'd take people to Walmart and give them groceries and help them out in the community and stuff like that. And then I'd go back and kind of hang out with them at nighttime, and we'd do a little barbecuing, drink a couple beers, whatever.
Yeah.
And then after that, that was pretty much it.
How much did they pay you doing the taxi? What were they paying?
Usually they charge $2.25 or 50 cents a mile. So basically they'll go out and let people go where they want to go, and they just cover the fuel and give them a little tip or whatever to help them with groceries.
Okay. Did they have other people working for them besides you?
Yeah. They had one other guy that was working there, and then me and Stacy and Sarah. So there's 4 total.
What was the other person's name? Do you know?
The other guy was I want to say it was another Hispanic guy that was my friend that they met during that time.
Yeah.
And we kind of hung out, and he had an SUV, and we drove around a little bit and talked, and he kind of stayed there 1 or 2 nights. And then after that, he just kind of headed out.
You don't know his name?
I want to say it was it wasn't Jesus. It was it was kind of like Caesar or Jesus, kind of like one of those names, but it started with a J.
This is the individual, Brandon Shirtliff, who has been arrested, and they believe is the individual. He has not been charged yet or convicted. They believe Brandon is the individual who knows where Michael's remains are, Michael Vaughan, and that he is the individual that, and it's shocking to hear. The first time we heard after the excavation, when JD, you listened to it in the presser, got up and said, we do believe Michael to be deceased, I couldn't believe it. You know, you think it, you worry about it, but to hear it like that, I just couldn't believe it. And when he said we are looking for human remains, when I saw that on the flyers, my heart broke. It still breaks. But I want you to know that this person is being alleged of duct taping Michael, putting him in a garbage bag, asphyxiating him. I can't talk today. Asphyxiating him, putting him in a duffel bag, in quotes. I'm not sure why they said duffel bag in quotes, but it's in quotes. Left him at his house in Kuna, drove home the hour, I guess, to Fruitland. That's maybe when they dug their hole. I don't know. And picked him up the next day, and they believe buried him at 1102 Red Wing. When they moved him, I don't know, but it was before the excavation in November of 2022. So this is the individual. I want you to look at him. Is it a person a child might approach? A child looking for someone to play with? Is he the one who grabbed him? Did they see him at the splash park? Where exactly did they get him? Very creepy. What was their motive? Some say Sarah wanted a child. Well, I can't buy that. If she wanted a child, why did she allow, encourage, involve herself, whatever it was, in unaliving a child? If you get one, you would leave, and you wanted one that bad, you'd take off, right? Go into hiding, you're a fugitive, change your names, and raise a child as your own. If you want a child, you don't take one in your own neighborhood and unalive it. There's got to be another motive. And of course, things cross our mind. I'm thinking, if you want my honest truth, if you went and you saw some of the weird things Sarah posts, and we will go, I don't know if they're still there, if I have them, I'll have to look, but weird things. And Stacy Wanderer, the man, the husband, posted a photo of Michael Monkey on his Facebook. I believe it was the first, very early on, even though he said he knew they were looking for someone, but he didn't know who, kind of thing. What made them take him? Was it just because a little boy walked out of his home in a very safe neighborhood, like many do every day, across this little street, very safe? I mean, you literally, I can't tell you how safe it is. And was, right? No one probably feels safe. But one thing I will tell you is that neighborhood was kept posted. And when they came out and said they believed Monkey to be abducted, it was like a year later, we were all shocked. We were thinking fell into the Snake River. We were thinking anything like that could have happened. And that Snake River, when I went down there, oh my gosh, it's so huge and moves so fast. You never expect it to be as wide as it is. And the bush, the growth around it, I couldn't see him getting through there. And then you find out someone just picked him up and snatched him. That 1%. But then to find out that 1% is living minutes from you. So they came across Michael and took him. And where things happen, I don't know. But my goodness, J.D. Huff seems to know. He's got some good intel. He's got good intel that he would know, duct taped in a garbage bag, in a duffel bag, all of that without having found Michael. They know that. Did they find a duffel bag that was hit on? Did the dogs hit on a duffel bag at the Wondrous house, 1102 Red Wing? Perhaps. I remember at one time they were looking in the neighborhood. A lot of the neighbors didn't speak out too much, but the neighbors said they were knocking on doors. And this was around the excavation time, asking if anyone recognized a green scooter or knew of a green scooter. I can't remember which. They were very hush-hush. They said, we can't really talk about it, but something about a green scooter. So I don't know if they found a green scooter at Wondrous when they were digging or in the garage when they were searching, because remember, they had a search warrant for inside too, front yard and back and inside. So this is the very person accused of taking Michael Monkey Vaughn, believed to be the one who knows where Michael Monkey Vaughn is located, and is in jail. Second person arrested on behalf of Monkey. Stacy's always in jail for one thing or another. Right now it's gun charges, federal gun charges. He's the husband. And we will see who else plays into it. Now remember, in the press conference, J.D. Huff said, we believe there to be other, let me, before we sign off, I want to give you the right information, and then we are going to go and everyone have their evenings. Thanks for hanging out. Hold on. J.D. said, we believe I don't know how he put it. Sorry, hold on. I'm looking for something. And he never got that Amber Alert. That's shocking. And he's that 1% that we know of right now. Summer got an Amber Alert. Sebastian got an Amber Alert. And this Michael did not get one. And he truly, there are people who took him. And I know I just lost my train of thought, what you guys were talking about. But yeah, law enforcement said that they are not going to give up. That they know a lot. And so they must have found certain things. I heard something, but I haven't been able to verify it. So it's a rumor to me right now, that somewhere they found bandages or medical stuff, but I can't verify it. So if any of you heard that, saw it, send that to me, please. But he is the one. There he is. Would a child run from him scared? If he's like, hey, dude, I'll play ball with you. And Michael wants looking for someone to play with. Right? Could it have gone down that way? Or did they just grab him? And who actually grabbed him? Sad and heartbreaking. And I'll share with you some of the things neighbors told me they thought they saw and heard and stuff. But right now we're almost at 4 hours. And thank you for bearing with me. We had 4 kids to discuss. I want to thank you, Raymond and Peggy, for gifting the Crime Time Buzz memberships. Kathy, for your sweet donation. You all, we had 4 kids. And I really, truly appreciate the fact that you all are here for all 4 of them. And that means a lot because they need us. Summer needs a voice for sure. We're going to be Summer's voice, and at night, bless them. Because in my opinion, hey, SI, in my opinion, Summer didn't have family members begging at night to take her case on, my opinion. I think they took her case on. And that is amazing. And I can just tell you this. I can't see one thing wrong with dog and agency that is here looking for Sebastian because his father will not stop. The people who took Sebastian Rogers underestimated one thing: Seth Rogers' unconditional love for his son that would keep him looking forever and forever, because the people who did this don't understand unconditional love. They couldn't perceive it because they don't possess it. So it never dawned on them, probably, that he would never stop looking. Now, whoever took Summer, if she's still with us, prayers out for all these kids. They may have known there was a family, they're not going to, who knows? Jonathan's family's screaming loud after just a week and a half, straight to the Attorney General's. So people are tired of it. But my point in all of this was, we have 4 kids. Thank you for following them with me. I'm going to be keeping you up to date on all 4 and any that come down the pike. They're all from small towns. Summers, the case has been, we're going to deep dive. I'm going to share so much with you. Hit that notification bell, subscribe. We'd love to have you. We're always learning. And Michael, he's from a small town, but you saw the difference when the sheriff takes it personally when someone hurts one of their own. He often couldn't say much, but he still was out there talking about Michael. Everyone deserves that. John Puit should be talking about Summer. So should Ronnie Lawson. We should hear Brandon and Eric Craddock talking about Sebastian. He deserves that. We should hear the Arlington Sheriff, Shaholmith, County Sheriff, I believe, Shaholmith. Speaking of Jonathan, he is not. They have to go all the way to the Attorney General to get him to serve and protect. And then we have another small town, same as the others, all small, but one sheriff who says, this is my town, our town. And his community must feel very safe, because he said, no one will hurt our own, or we are coming for you. So imagine the safety level. I doubt J.D. Huff is worried about re-election. Let's put it that way, right? You all, I want to thank you for being here. Please, prayers up for Michael Vaughn. He has a sick mother. She needs answers. She wants to know. She wants closure. She wants to be able to put her baby to rest. Please help pray. Also for Jonathan Hoang. He's been missing since March 30th. High functioning autistic, no shoes, no phone, no jacket. Walked out. Last mom's family saw him, was on his way to his bedroom. The clothes they thought he was in, inaccurate. They found them in the laundry baskets, in the clean laundry. Sister's clean laundry. Summer's got no one screaming at the top of their lungs for her. We have to do so. Okay. And dog and at night at taking them under their wing. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate each of you. Have a happy Easter. I will put in the community post when I will be on tomorrow to spend Easter with you, because you're my favorite peeps. Thank you all for all you do, for all you support the channel. I will be releasing the members live from this morning, tomorrow morning, first thing. So all of you can see the video we watched. Don't miss it. It's important. We watched it twice. It's so important. It's someone searching in Tennessee at Portland Lake. So don't miss tomorrow. When you see that come out, it'll be before my live, and it'll come out in the morning, our members live from today. I want all of you to see it, and please thumbs up and share and subscribe if you would. Thank you for everything. We need to bring them all home, and we need to do better. And I can tell you one thing for sure, Tennessee, you definitely need to do better. Talk soon. Thank you so much for everything. You're here for the children, and you're so appreciated.